It's a Slack notification thing.
And let's go ahead and hit this. Boom. Okay. Hello there, everybody. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Sure can.
I can't hear you guys for some reason.
I can hear you, and you hopefully can hear me.
Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you. Can you hear us?
Why can't I hear you?
I don't know. Can you hear me still?
I hear Dan.
I cannot hear you guys. Let's see what I can do. Volume is up. Give me 1 second here. I'm gonna log back in. I don't know why my sound is down.
I'm hearing you fine, Izzy.
Yeah, we could all hear him. He couldn't hear us, which was weird because right before everybody was joined into the room, we were sitting here talking.
Got it.
So
Well,
maybe a speaker got changed. He'll be back here in just a second.
in my depth of experience, that's not horribly unusual for this to happen. It just seems like all these things are not quite as baked as you'd think they would be.
Yeah.
All right, Kevin, I'm back from my travels, so here I am.
There you are. All right. Hopefully you had a good time or productive time or both.
Both. It was very, very productive.
Can you hear
And
me
I had a
now?
really good time too.
I can hear
Yeah,
you
I
guys
hear-
now. That's good.
We could hear you before.
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't know what in the world's going on.
Probably because you're on a Mac.
Oh no, I got to sign out.
Okay, I see what was going on. You guys can still hear me?
Yep.
Beautiful. And I hear all you guys. All right. I love the last Friday of the month because I get to feature you guys and all your amazing companies. And you guys are doing some amazing things. The market has been crazy. Have you guys been watching that? By show of hands, you guys been watching the stock market? It's just so crazy what's going on. So let's jump into things here. All right, Dan, you know we love to start things with a prayer and a pledge. Let's go ahead and get our flag up here. I'm looking forward to this weekend. I had a fun time yesterday. It was unusual start to the season. We had Thursday night lights. Normally it's supposed to be Friday night lights. But as we were doing the Pledge of Allegiance, I was reminded of the big day that we had today here. So Dan, if you wouldn't mind sharing your screen and putting up a flag, there we go. Why don't we go ahead and start with that? I pledge allegiance to the flag
To the flag,
of the
United States of America,
to the republic,
to the republic which will stand,
one
one
nation,
nation, under God,
indivisible.
indivisible,
Liberty.
with liberty and justice for all.
Man, I love this country. I love free enterprise. I love the people that have served and given back to this great country. By the way, anyone in here that I've never acknowledged before, having served our country, any of you guys ever served? Dan, you can take the flag down now.
89 to 94 USN.
Say that again. Who was that? Was that you, Bill?
It's Will, and it's 89 to 94 United States Navy.
All right, man. Thank you so much for serving. Give him a round of applause. Anybody else that has served this great country? Anybody on here that has served? You know, I got to remember to do that because our household certainly honors those that have gone before us and serve and protect this country's great name. Unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there that smear it and don't appreciate what they have here. I'm so grateful. And with respect to gratefulness, well, let me just let's all agree in prayer here. Heavenly Father, we give you thanks for this wonderful day, this time that we have together to share these bright men and women that have incredible concepts, incredible companies. And Lord, I ask that you bless this day that they are pitching so that investors would see the value of their companies. And Lord God, I ask that you move mightily in all of this and that you have your way in all of their lives, Lord God, and mine. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Good.
All right. Well, guys, I am indeed grateful. There's a lot of tumultuous things going on right now, but let me just say this to you. I've seen things like this before, and I wanted to kick things off with a few of my thoughts before we get going, because I think there's a lot of nervous people out there. In fact, I know that there are. And a lot of people can't make heads or tails of what's going on with this economy. A lot of people can't make heads or tails of what's going on with things like cryptocurrencies and things like that. But here's what I'll tell you. If you have great management, if you've got a great idea, a great company that can scale, there will be investors that will be interested in investing in you, period, the end. They just don't simply say, because the stock market is crazy, yes, it's harder to raise capital in conditions like that. It's never easy, right? But I will tell you, I've been in situations like this before. And I just want you guys to recognize that while it can be something that's not for the faint at heart, is what I would say, how you have the ups and downs of the stock market and a lot of no's from people taking a look at your company. But the bottom line is that people are looking. There's trillions of dollars sitting in cash right now. Some of the things that we've been doing recently here, a little different model, is by way of an SPV. We've been seeing some success with that, and still the due diligence process is there. But what I'm seeing is more no's from some of the less sophisticated investors and a lot of yeses. And I want to take a look at more things. I mean, I can show you emails and go on and on from companies that are looking for, or investment people that are looking for companies. So it's just remarkable to me, the shift in things. And I remember when the planes hit the towers, and how it changed the complexion of my practice and changed everybody's lives. And I mean, who's on here that's young enough to remember that you used to be able to walk through the gate with your loved ones and see them off and wait? You know, I mean, so much has changed. You can't even walk in. You can't even walk through security with this. It's like, it's crazy. You can't walk through with a bottle of water, right? So much has changed, and the stock market has changed, and that's impacted the private sector as well in the capital markets. So when you go out fishing and the water is rough, it doesn't mean that the fish aren't below the surface. They are. We're just feeling the impact of that. But let me say this: there's no doubt in my mind that anyone that would be bold enough to just simply say we're in a recession, we likely are. And here's what I tell people, because I get these questions day in and day out. Izzy, do you think people are going to invest in my company during a recession? Well, I already prefaced my thoughts on that. But here's why I believe we're in a recession. How many of you have kids on here? No? Okay. So if your kid is coming home every day, every week with F's on quizzes, notes from the teacher saying he or she didn't submit his homework, maybe a phone call from the teacher saying this looks really bleak, are you going to be surprised if you see an F on their report card? The answer to that is no. So I don't know why there's sort of this pent up nervousness of, oh, what's going to be happening in Jackson Hole? What are they going to be saying and things like that? What's the Fed going to do? It really doesn't matter. It is what it is right now. You just got to adjust to what's happening in the economy right now and make sure that you're giving value. I've spoken to some of our client companies with, yes, likely the valuation has come down, so we might have to adjust that, right? So you just make some simple adjustments, because if there are people that are investing now, and there are, you want to give them good value. Any questions or comments or concerns that anyone would like to add to that? And I lost you guys.
No, we're here.
I think we're here.
You came back. Okay.
I think we're
Actually, Izzy,
digesting.
I think
I don't know
people,
what's going on here. It's the Zoom people. They don't like my talk. I don't know where, wink, wink. I don't know where Zoom is founded, but maybe they don't like what we're talking about.
maybe not, but I got to tell you, the desire to reduce expenses, I think, has actually been good for us. You know, I mean, our product is great for doing a lot with not very much money. So anyway, I don't know. It seems like, if I feel bad about that sometimes, but I think it is what it is.
You're absolutely right. It is what it is, and you just have to make some simple adjustments. But I wanted to preface that today because there's a lot of nervous people out there right now. Lots of nervous people. Hey, look at that handsome guy, Mike Verdun. It's so great to see you, brother. Hawaii 5-0, aloha to you. You're on mute. You're on mute.
They told me I had to do, I'm sitting on the beach of Hawaii. They said I had to mute. They didn't want to hear from you. Hey, Tom Allen, good to see you.
Hey, good to see you.
We want to hear from Bob.
Bob had a hard night last night. Good morning, Kevin.
Good morning. How are you?
Well, my wife
Mike, we were just talking about all the crazy things that are happening in the market, and it still blows me away how there's professionals, let's throw quotes around that are saying things like, "Oh, we'll have to wait and see what the numbers come out," and all these shocking, results, as if everyone's going to be surprised that we're in a recession. And I was just simply saying, Mike, that if your kid comes home all the time, missing homework, failing quizzes, failing tests, fails the final, are you going to be surprised if there's an F on the report card? So we keep getting these numbers that are saying things aren't looking so great, and there's these little blips that things are looking good. It really doesn't matter. I think we have the greatest country in this world. We're so super blessed. We bounce back from things. The bottom line is we've seen these things before, and you got to just continue to grind it out. Make sure you're giving value to investors is what I would say. All right. So first up, let's go ahead and spotlight Kevin, if you wouldn't mind, Dan. Kevin Neal with P3ID. Kevin,
I hate following Kevin.
Do you want to go
following Kevin? I want to give Kevin my deal and let him present it. I mean, he's a pro. Anyway.
No, you're too kind, Mike. You're a pro also.
If there's someone that knows how to present, it's certainly Kevin Neal.
Yes,
so,
that's a great job.
Kevin, I was just talking with someone the other day that I think you guys need to collaborate for sure. So I'll speak to you offline about that. But without further ado, my good friend with his amazing company, it's remarkable what you're doing with P3ID. I think it's going to revolutionize the way we're securitizing things for the future. So go ahead and share your amazing company with everybody, Kevin.
Okay, so let me start a slideshow here just to use these as reference, but this is a good discussion. So Izzy, as you said, part of a good business is technology, but people. So want to make this amazing offer to potential investors for P3ID investment. My name's Kevin Neal. I'm the president and CEO of P3ID Technologies, and P3 is for people, process, and policy. So these three things come together for workflows, for digital transformation workflows, and ID is for intelligent data. So we're in the future of work business or digital transformation. That's what everybody's talking about these days. This was not a pivot because of COVID. We've done this for a long time. I'm a long-time industry expert. I'll give you a little bit more detail on my background in a few minutes, but this is what we do. We are a cloud-first company in the future of work business. The problem as far as we see it is collecting data, organizing data, and then finding those needles in a haystack and utilizing your data efficiently. It's very difficult to do this. So here's three big giant government organizations as examples. The PPP process, the United States Postal Service, and then the IRS. So even these large organizations struggle with collecting, organizing, and utilizing data. It's very difficult to collect it, first of all. Then secondly, it's hard to organize it because it's all kinds of different formats. And then last but not least, it's hard to understand the data and derive some kind of insights and make decisions on it. So, and let's just use these very, very public quotes on here. The first one was PPP, and this is kind of an old quote from last year, but at that time, there was $800 billion of PPP money distributed. And this was, the whole intention was to go to businesses and help businesses to maintain the employees. But at that time, according to them, $67 billion of fraud in the PPP process. And I've heard numbers as much bigger, like 163 billion of the nearly over almost $1 trillion allocated. And the whole point was they should have been able to collect the data and then validate transactions in real time instead of companies putting 14 fraudulent business on an application. They could have fixed this. So anyways, companies that should have got the money did not get the money, and there was incredible fraud in the process. So that was one example. The second example is the United States Postal Service. They had a project a couple years ago to collect ballots for elections, and they were going to use a blockchain technology, and they scrapped it because they perceived it as not secure enough to collect electronic voting ballots and then validate the voting. So this is another example of a technology that's available like blockchain, but the United States Postal Service, even them with all their incredible resources and money and talent, perceive this as inefficient. So maybe in the future, electronic voting will be a real thing instead of paper ballots. And then last but not least, the IRS. There's a lot of current events about the IRS. They're hiring 87,000 more agents. And what are those agents going to do? They're going to collect the data, they're going to analyze the data, and they're going to collect on stuff. So the IRS, there was a very famous quote in January that says that paper is IRS's kryptonite. So this is just three very big examples of government organizations that struggle with this kind of collecting, organizing, and utilizing their data. Okay, so if this is a fact, I have no illusions that P3ID is going to go to the IRS or going to go to the Postal Service today, but we're creating solutions for small to medium businesses. And specifically in the small to medium business space, what they struggle with is very similar, but very much more tangible. So they struggle with a return on investment on their investment in employee labor. So what happens is they're paying employees to do things like manual key entry. They can't find documents for things like credit card disputes. They can't prove a service. They're losing their employees or aren't doing travel reimbursements for when they travel and have receipts from their travels. Their clients are dissatisfied because I call up a service provider and I say, hey, you know what, I got a dispute about my bill, and they can't pull it up in real time and say, you know what, here's your signature on the bill. So basically, a national average is that companies, and specifically all companies, including small businesses, brought off roughly 1.5% of their accounts receivable are written off as bad debt. So this is, and why are they writing this off? Is because they don't have access to their electronic documents, a signed invoice, a signed receipt, any kind of document to prove a service or a delivery. So small businesses struggle with the transition to cloud. They want to do it. They don't have access to their data. So again, collecting, organizing, and utilize their data is the problem with a small business. So this is where P3 is focused today, on solving a problem for the small business that could scale up to the enterprise organizations that I mentioned in the previous slide. So how do we do it? P3 is creating a collection of services similar to Amazon Web Services. Amazon started with like 5 services that you can go get. Now they have hundreds of services. So in a similar fashion, P3 is creating a collection service, a scanning service, where you can collect images and you can collect voice and data. So a collection service. Then we have a service that can classify your content index your content. So you have a classification indexing service, and then we have a storage and workflow service. And in my opinion, those are the kind of basic components to a workflow. So what we've done is create a platform, a cloud services platform, that allows companies to use these services a la carte individually. So if you want to just use the collection service and you want to use the classification indexing service, you can use these independently. Or a lot of our customers, which I will talk about in a few minutes, they use them together in a complete workflow. So you can go pick and choose and you get the best of breed at a very affordable price. We're offering all these services as a cloud services, so you don't have to maintain any kind of infrastructure on your own, obviously. You can reduce your IT department or not have an IT department at all. We could do all this as a managed service. And the whole point is that collecting and organizing your data provides valuable data analytics and insights into your data. So we're very similar to the Amazons, that we have the microservices in each services. We will also have the security that's required for cloud services. So that's kind of a general explanation. Our company, again, allows you to securely collect, automatically organize, and effectively utilize your data. So your business data is the most important, most valuable thing to your organization. And you have different people, contributing data, need access to data, need to collaborate in data. So that's what we're doing. We're a first mover in this transition to cloud. There's a lot of good legacy technologies, but they've traditionally been around behind the firewall and not exposing to third-party applications like Salesforce and QuickBooks and integrating all this collection and classification and indexing capability. We're focused on three vertical markets right now because we have subject matter expertise in each of these three: retail, healthcare, and government. And retail has a lower barrier to entry. I'll give you a case study that we did in retail. It doesn't necessarily require all these high security things, but we built the secure platform, and then we're going to transition to healthcare and government. So these are three vertical markets. This is a beautiful picture I like to share. And I'll start by laser pointer because this is so we can focus on the stuff. So I always like to say P3 is the glue that connects hardware devices to the end user applications over here. I just mentioned retail, government, and healthcare. So these are the markets we're focused on today because we have people that understand these markets. They can relate to people and the use cases in these markets. So we've got this checkbox over here with the markets. We've got excellent relationships with the manufacturers that I'll mention. And we are the strategic part that's connecting the hardware through the reseller, through partner channels to the end user organizations. So this is what we do, and I'll explain this in more detail, but we're creating that. We're the valuable part that's connecting all these people, collecting this ecosystem together. This is a great case study we did for Big O Tires and Jiffy Lubes. So Big O Tires, you drive your car into the retail store and they'll change your tires for you. You never have to even leave the car. Or you go into Jiffy Lubes, they'll change your oil for you. You don't have to leave the car. So, and they're retail organizations. So Big O Tires has hundreds of locations, 450 plus locations in the United States. Jiffy Lube has over 2,000 locations. And what they struggled with was they were, after an oil change or a tire change, they would print out an invoice and they would have the customer sign it. And then they were taking those signed documents and having a box storage company come and physically pick them up and then go store them off site. So when there was a dispute about these transactions, a tire change and oil change, and the customer says, hey, you know what? I didn't get my fifth tire. There was a buy 4 and get 1 free deal, but I didn't get my fifth tire. And they can't remember because it was 30 days after they had been there to get it. But on the invoice, the person that had done the tire change, they said, I put the fifth tire in your trunk as your spare tire. And now they can pull up this documentation because they're using our technology to capture these documents, classify them, index them, and then utilize them. So now they can pull up these documents in real time, say, hey, customer, I'm going to email you an image of the signed receipt that you signed for the tire change. And then the customer says, oh, yes, I just forgot that, it was put in the trunk. I haven't looked in the trunk for 30 days. I'll pay, I'm not going to dispute the bill. So instead of Big O Tires and Jiffy Lubes writing off that 1.5%, now they can recoup that. So there was a very tangible cost savings for them. The second part was that they were paying the box storage companies to actually physically come pick up the documents. Then when they had to access the documents, like I'm saying, when a customer calls in a dispute, they would have to have that box storage company go into the physical box, pull out the paper, maybe fax it back or courier it back. So they had to pay for them to pick it up, for them to retrieve it, and for them to store it. So they're paying 3 times. So there was a tangible cost savings. There was a great customer service, and then also accounts receivable. So this is a great example of a customer. We provided 3, like I said, 3 a la carte services. So this is the collection service called ScanBot. So you can collect the images. And then we had a classification extraction. So we extracted the data, the customer name, the date, the invoice number, the VIN number. We extracted some data from the images, and then we stored it in a system where they can retrieve it. Say, this is what's the VIN number, what's the customer number, and they can pull up the images and send it to them. So this is where we found the product market fit at retail organizations like Big O Tires and Jiffy Lube. So there's like lots and lots of tens of thousands of businesses like this in the United States that we're going to go attack with this kind of similar solution. Okay. How do we make money? So expanding on that, like I said, Big O Tires, Jiffy Lubes, they were using our ScanBot component. So they pay a monthly fee. And then yearly, it's about roughly this amount for the number of devices they have connected. We also have another collection service for cell phones to collect images from cell phones. So this is 2 collection services. This is the extraction service. So you can see, just based on the annual recurring revenue for each one of these things, we only have to do these numbers to achieve basically what I call our hero products. Is that if we sell these, we only have to achieve a very small amount, one a month, 2 a month, basically, to achieve $1 million of annual recurring revenue. So we're already closing a few deals. We have a lot of big pipeline for each one of these opportunities. So that's why we're looking for money to take and then close our pipeline of these kind of more opportunities. So this is how we make money. There's additional products, add-on products, but these are the core products that we're selling. The market is massive. So $32 billion in the capture market. And that means, just like I said, collecting images from scanners, copy machines, from cameras mounted on to collect driver's licenses as you go through the toll booth. So the capture market is $32 billion worldwide. It's growing at 17%, according to a 2021 reference by InfoSource. It's actually probably higher than that. I haven't got all the new numbers. I'll get them next week. In the United States, it's about a $5.5 billion serviceable market. And then based on the 3 verticals of ours, retail, healthcare, and government, we think P3 has a $2 billion obtainable market in the next couple of years. We have excellent traction. Like I said, we're the glue that connects hardware to cloud services. We're that bridge. So we have outstanding relationships with the hardware manufacturers. And you see some logos here: Kodak, Brother, Canon, Fujitsu, HP, Ricoh, the Visioneer, Xerox. So these are referenceable quotes by CEOs and general managers at Fujitsu, Kodak, Visioneer, and Xerox that basically say P3 is strategic to their business. Because these are hardware manufacturers. They're not, they traditionally haven't been in the business of cloud hosting and offering a more complete solution. So they say P3 is very, very important to them. And we have excellent relationships. We have go-to-markets with them. We have 3 memos of understandings or letters of intent for these companies. So we're executing a development strategy. We're integrating with each one of these companies. We're developing a marketing strategy and engaging with their sales teams and their partner ecosystems to go to market. So each one of these is a major manufacturer. So that's our hardware traction. In addition to the hardware vendors that we're working with and integrating with, we also are working with the end users because we're really good at getting to the end user, then listening to them, understanding their pain, and then solving that pain with our technology solutions. So we kind of act as a consultant. So you can see referenceable logos here: New York Power Authority, Kim's Chocolates, the United Stations, Papa John's Pizza. So kind of all in a lot of different verticals. These are all customers that we've sold a piece of software to. And now we're going to land, we've already landed them, and we're expanding to additional things like maybe they want to do mobile, maybe they want to do a voice control system, maybe they want to do blockchain. Each one of them has a different need, but we're expanding to different kinds of cloud services and different kinds of technologies now that we already have these end users as customers. Also here we have vendor alliance partners. So, and I'll use Sodexo as one of them. We sold we sold an application to them, and now they're using this as a marketing tool to sell their cleaning services to hospitals. So they use our analytics application and say, hey, you know, this is what the hospital room looks like before. They take a picture of it, and this is what it looks like after. And then they take some pictures of the cleaning machines, like the barcodes. And then they get all this information, and they could say, this is a proof that we went in and we cleaned this room. And then there's a date of service so that if somebody comes in later and they get an infection, they could say, no, the room was cleaned to this standard. So Sodexo is a great example. So you can see we have hardware, go to market, we have direct to end user market, then we also have these alliance partners. This is another just kind of depiction of it, that one of the things that we're really good at, quite frankly, is that we're leveraging existing channels. So in order to scale up and scale big, we can't go touch every single customer. So we're leveraging existing reseller ecosystems. So these hardware manufacturers have a lot of resellers, hundreds and thousands of resellers that have been selling, it's a one-time sale, and they sell a piece of hardware and some software, and it's a one-time sale, but they're not getting recurring revenue. So now that we have a cloud service, we're coming in and say, hey, you know what? Sell our service, you get recurring revenue, and they get more margin. They have a more stable business. So this partner channels is really a big thing that we're focused on. The OEMs, those are the hardware, original equipment manufacturers. That's the hardware people. And then direct to the customer, like Kim's Chocolates, United Nations, and all those logos that I just put up. So we're doing all these things. We're focused on these three verticals. And then we also are really good at understanding the use cases. So things like using blockchain to do deal rooms. And there's a couple use cases that are really good for this, like law firms that have kind of a court dispute, and they have a plaintiff, a defendant, and maybe a third party, and they have to share documents and they have to share information. So there's one room, and you have to have it secure. You have to have it, levels of access, account logging, who accessed all this stuff. There's also use cases in oil and gas when you go and drill. It's not just one person that owns the land for these different layers. There's layers of land, and everybody might own the top layer, the second layer, the third layer. And there's contracts that when you drill, you have to negotiate this stuff. So they also need a deal room for the same reason: secure the documents, review the documents, index the documents, and then who has access. So there's some use cases that we're focused on using our technology, and I'll explain kind of the technology that we're applying here. I like to share this too, because I kind of talked about, what we're doing, where we are, but these are the kind of the strategic things that we're focused on. And this is where we would really like investment to really take these things. We're already doing them, but accelerate the integration of these technologies. So in my opinion, throughout the rest of 2022, we're gonna integrate some Web 3.0 kind of technologies. So blockchain, I'll explain that in a minute. And then early next year, we'll go some more vertical markets in healthcare. Here's an analytics application partner. Here's a dentistry EMR application. And then this is where we scale up in 2024. is where we offer a service like facial recognition, a multi-factor authentication, kind of simple to use, but very required, that we sell in thousands, hundreds of thousands, or millions of users. And these kind of two things. So this is kind of our roadmap, specifically talking about blockchain and NFTs. So as I mentioned, we have a very unique proposition that we can use IoT devices to collect objects and information. So if that's the case, and we're going to be operating on those devices, like all those hardware manufacturers I mentioned, then at the second that that document or that image is captured, then we blockchain it. So it's secure, but we're also can provide through blockchain or NFT, tokenize this and say, this is an authentic title. This is an authentic mortgage. This is an authentic medical record. So say these are authentic documents. So over here, and then also we could say, I want to provide consent to Izzy for my medical record. But then at some point I want to transfer from Izzy to Dan. So I could revoke access from Izzy and give it to Dan. So these two things are related, the document authenticity and then consent to the items. So this is something we're going to focus on very heavily in the next, well, through the end of the year and into next year. So this is where we're looking for investment on our Hero ScanBot product. This is I know kind of running over a little bit here, but this is our team. I'm a 30-year veteran of the imaging, digital transformation, work remote kind of industry. I don't know what you want to call it this day. I have worked at leading manufacturers, so I've managed hundreds of millions of dollars of product. I've also sold hundreds of millions of dollars of enterprise software at leading companies like Fujitsu and Abby. We're part of the Twain Working Group, evangelizing a new kind of connectivity standard from device to application. Our team is outstanding. We have Ed with over 30 years of healthcare experience. That's why we're in the healthcare business, because he understands it very well from Cerner. We have Bill, that's ex-Navy captain, 40 years. He's an expert on blockchain and cryptography. So that's why we're in the government market. And then Steve No, he's worked at AutoNation. So he did a massive deal for them. He also did Illinois DMV. So he's done massive digital transformation solutions going back many years. All these people have hundreds of years of experience combined. Two events that we're doing Capture Conference in just a few weeks. So I'm speaking at that. We're participating with Twain Working Group. So P3ID is going to get a lot of exposure, being a thought leader and innovator at this Capture Conference in Chicago. Then we're also organizing, as I mentioned, we're part of the Twain Working Group, evangelizing a new open source connectivity standard from device to application. So P3A is taking the lead for Twain Direct Developers Day, and we're going to be offering our API to a bunch of developers, 20 or 25 developers that come in, use our system to create an application and then go to market. So this is going to really get a lot of software companies using our technologies. So last but not least, we have a great advisory board of all these people. They're all ex-CEOs and CTOs. We have a financial model that we worked on with Dan. I've personally invested about $350,000 of my personal money. We've raised $125,000 on a line of credit. We have our cap table is very clean. We only have $100,000 equity, few investors. Burn rate's really low. The use of funds is not all technology development. We have a pipeline of business that we want to go address. So it's mostly salespeople, business development people to go close the existing business pipeline that we have. So 60% of our use of funds will be on closing sales opportunities. Last but not least, and I appreciate everybody's time, our request is a $2 million seed round on safe or convertible notes. We'll offer a 20% discount and 25K minimums. We're starting to fill up the round, so we're very eager to talk to people and get you on board with this digital transformation future of work kind of business. So we're very excited to talk to anybody. So you can see my contact information there. So back to you, Izzy. Thank you.
Great job. Give him a round of applause. Excellent job. All right, let's just keep myself and Kevin spotlighted there, Dan, as we run through a couple of questions that I've got. You can stop sharing your screen there, Kevin. So, what people are going to want to understand is the way that you built this platform. Number one, the scalability with clients, and I want to talk about use of proceeds in just a second. But let's first start with scalability. Let's say you have the use case scenario with Big O, and all of a sudden some of their industry counterparts, because they're always shopping one another, they say, hey, they've got this thing in there that can really help us. We ought to get it too. How scalable are you right now if you were to bring on a major client like a discount tire or something like that?
So Izzy, that's a great question and very timely. So and I'll just be brief. We had a meeting with our development teams, and we're going to have a one-click spin up of our technology. So basically, you press a button, it spins up all the infrastructure, sets it up, and like you can be set up in like a few minutes with the basic infrastructure.
Wow.
So yeah, so all these. So we're talking about retail, right? So it's got to be simple, quick, and easy. So you spin up the infrastructure in a few minutes, and then you have to provide unique things like their usernames or the passwords that they choose. But so there's a little bit of configuration, but they could do that all on their own. But the infrastructure itself is already set up. And we've already proven the case with Big O Tires and Jiffy Lubes. We set up the one centralized cloud server that we hosted, and they physically just send these hardware devices to the end user. And the end user doesn't need any technical. They plug in the power, they plug in the internet, they get an IP address, and then it phones home to us basically. And then all the job buttons and the configuration is on that scanner. So as far as scalability, the user experience, deployment, management of our system is very important. That's why we did it. And that's why we can do it at a very affordable cost, because we don't have to have a lot of people touching it, right? And it doesn't, all these old systems, it took 6 months and hundreds of thousands of dollars of integration and stuff. That's monolithic, big stack technology is like the thing of the past. You want these small, digestible, easy to use, quick to deploy, quick to value kind of stuff. So we built our system for easy deployment. It's a multi-cloud, so you can run it in any cloud. You can run it even on a premise. So it's a Kubernetes kind of container. It's kind of getting geeky, but the point is it's portable, right? You could run it wherever you want, or however you want. It's not dependent on any kind of other proprietary system. We're very open and scalable.
That is remarkable. Okay, talk to me about the use of proceeds. Let's say someone drops $1 million into your company. What are you doing immediately with that money?
Yeah, so Izzy, I'm more of a marketing guy, a sales guy, and I love to sell and I love to solve problems with technology. So we've been really busy marketing and selling, with our MVP products. So we've been out there. Google us and you'll see a lot of stuff. So use of proceeds is basically the pipeline of business that we put in our Salesforce. We've got all the charts and this stuff. So use of proceeds is basically, how enterprise sales go, right? You have to get everybody on board. It's not just one decision maker. It's, you got to get the IT department to buy in. You got to get executive management to buy in. So it's time consuming. There ain't no doubt about it, right? So it's having the people that are going to have the meetings with the potential clients to do the demos, make sure everybody's on board, do the proper project management to get to the deal. So we already have a pipeline of business, and we need the use of proceeds is to apply the proper resources so that we're not dropping the balls on these opportunities. Because listen, going to digital is nothing to be taken lightly. You're trusting your business to go from a paper-based process to digital. And if that doesn't work, you're hosed, right? So this is very important. You have to dedicate the time and resource. If the client has a question, like we're going through the process right now, client has questions, ID department needs to see a demo, the operations people need, some justification. So we need those people to really work with the client, even provide them justification, maybe make a ROI spreadsheet on this is why, this is the time to value of the solution. This is what you're going to spend. This is how you're going to get it. You're going to get an ROI in 8 months. This is how the technology works. So use of proceeds is going to be addressing our pipeline, bringing on immediate revenue. We want bringing on immediate more customers. So that's the important part. We feel that all of our products are like MVP status, kind of final done, but we give these to the customers. We get feedback. We want to be able to respond to it. So that's why 30% will be allocated towards R&D, because if a customer says, hey, we have a customer right now, they want to take this product, and this product and put them all together. So we could do that, but they've said, we need this, we'll buy this. Now we need the R&D to go put them together, which shouldn't take much, but it takes a little. And then we need that sales team to kind of, okay, customer, this is what we're going to deliver. So that's why 60% on people, and then 30% R&D, and then 10% G&A.
Great job. Excellent job. Give him a round of applause. All right. Up next, we've got Mike Verdun. Great job, Kevin. You always do a great job presenting.
Kevin,
We've
that was
got Mike Verdun
fantastic.
with Catalyst Capital. Come on up. You're the next contestant on The Price is Right. Come on down. I would love to see Mike running down. They're all excited with Bob Barker, and he's coming down. You're the next contestant, Mike. You're up.
I did that one time and I bumped into Bob and he punched me. Say,
Were you really on The Price is Right?
no, I'm not going to tell you anymore. All you do is tell all my secrets. Hey, Kevin, you're fascinating, your presentation. Number one, your content's
Really
wonderful. And from a personal experience right now, some of the things you touched on with your NFTs and what you're touching, we're just working through. So, boy, do I better understand that now. And looking what you do, you have a great thing there. I think you should be a professional presenter. Yeah.
I got a business to run here, so I don't know if I could do that, but
It was a
appreciate it.
compliment. Never mind.
Well, part of owning your business, right, is being a professional presenter. So
That's
you're
right.
doing a good job. Great
Well,
job, Kevin.
he's got it
Thank you.
nailed. Okay, Izzy, I'm ready for you, dude.
All right, Kevin. Well, I really appreciate all that you've done, and obviously educating Mike. And one of the things I love about Mike is he's always learning. Okay, don't let the gray hair fool you. I've met a lot of gray-haired startup founders that think they know everything, and I love how Mike is always saying he's very humble, saying he doesn't know anything. He's always learning, and he's got this incredible company that I think is going to become a household name. And when you talk, and I don't want to steal your thunder with the Inside Edge Club and all that, but because I've been talking about this on a regular basis, as you know, Mike, just spreading the word, I'm an evangelist for your company. What I want to hear from you is all these high-level nuggets that I think are going to wow the audience. I think anyone that watches this is going to learn what you could become here in a very short period of time, and likely who's going to want to buy you in the future. So without further ado, my good friend and colleague, Mike Verdun of Catalyst Capital.
Thank you, Izzy. When I listen to Kevin and other folks you have on your presentations talk, I do learn a lot, frankly. And it's because I have a background. I'm a recovering Catholic, so I'm kind of slow, anyway. I say that for your benefit. But
Oh, goodness.
we have believe a fascinating product. But what I was going to say, when I listened to Tom and I listened to Kevin and other folks present the detail of the things that they're doing, and typically what you hear from me is a global overview, and to me that's what we really are. I've got Will Torbett here, I've got Terry Atz and other backup people that really get into the technical side of the transaction. For me, this whole thing started years ago watching a show by Max Kaiser, and I've said it before on my presentations, but it really impacted me. It was the introduction of blockchain, and two young men that he had on his show, and they were up in arms about banks and institutions and fraudulent transactions. And they said, we have a way of compensating for that, and this is what it is. And got my attention. And lo and behold, over the years, it's worked its way through the chain. It worked its way through Bitcoin, whoever Satoshi was, gave honorable mention to these two PhDs who have their name on the blockchain. Blockchain is a reality. It's powering Kevin, it's powering us, a lot of folks. And thank God for the Will Torbetts of the world. I'm still struggle with the spelling of blockchain, but I'm learning how it works. And we have a product that is just fascinating. And it was created by, we call it the Dr. Brown Back to the Future, Mark Usinger, one of our founders. 3 years ago, we came together. Terry Atson, Terry's in the pew somewhere, myself and Mark. We've had experiences together over many years. I come out of financial services. Terry's financial service partner. Mark was a banker, a land developer, and a mortgage company person. Financial oriented stuff. We saw some things out there. We tied it into blockchain and how can we make this thing work? We targeted companies. Our mission at that time, 3 years ago, was to find new, robust technology that needed help, maybe financially. At that time, we thought we could be a bank to them and step in and manage and help. What we ended up doing was targeting software, if you will, targeting technology that we could purchase from these companies. And this is how we launched 3 years ago. We found a proprietary technology, patent pending, that allows us to do what we do. And that has been our base. Okay, so Will, would you advance me? And what we talk about is where change happens. And this goes back to blockchain in the 90s. Everything we do, and this is me talking macro, is about change. Hence the name Catalyst Capital. We're about change. We're a small team, highly experienced leaders, financial services, payments, technology, capital markets. The over the hill bunch, me, Terry Atson, and Mark Usinger, realized that we needed to build a team of capable people like Will Torbett that had the technological, and Doug Milley, who's not on today, but who's our data processing guru that has taken us through the evolutions that we need to present the ultimate card that I'm going to talk to you about in just a minute. But we're about technology, we're about financial services. We are about developing this mission statement you read here on the bottom of the page is everything to us. We're not philanthropic, but there's a reason that we offer 10% back immediate on our debit card that we're going to talk about. And that has to do with tithing, if you will. And not to get syrupy here, but to me, it's a reminder of a corporate responsibility. And we decided that we're going to offer 10% back with this magic card. Everything that is purchased with our card is going to produce a 10% immediate cashback return to the user who is a member of our company, which we call the Inside Edge Club. And that allows them to do just about any transaction we believe that can be done in the marketplace today. We are battling banks. We've not made them our enemy, but we believe banks and institutions are like some of the guys on my team, they're old and tired, but the institutions are there and they're changing, things are happening. We want to be on the forefront of that change with our technology. To that end, we have developed, we believe it's a Swiss Army knife of fintech solutions. Yes, we have a card that offers 10% immediate cash back, but we also have a relationship and integration with any type of crypto, any type of transaction monetarily that can be done. You can do it through your account with us. When somebody joins our company, we don't perceive it to be a risk. We're dealing with a debit card, not a credit card. And this debit card allows somebody to spend and use. There are no restrictions on it. It's immediate and it goes back into your account. The user can designate where they want that money to go to. I spend my time talking to philanthropic organizations. I'm talking to St. Jude. I'm talking to Dornbecker here in Portland, Oregon. I'm talking to the city of Albany, where I'm domiciled, Albany, Oregon, just south of Salem, Oregon. And I'm talking to their city council, and I'm talking about the $20 million I know that they want to raise because I have a relationship with the mayor. We've been doing business together for years. He's a former sports guy, as I am, and he said, I'd really like to build a complex for the kids of our city and make it a destination point for the remainder of the other kids in Oregon that come here to compete and play. Good for business, good for everything. So I appeared a month ago in front of city council and talked about our card and how our card used with their citizenry, a population base of less than 60,000, and we know not everybody's going to use it, but should they, how they could raise $20 million within a short period of time, 2 years in this particular case, based on our projections, to pay for that sports complex without getting into a need for a bond fund, for raising taxes, etc. They're contemplating that. We think they will be our poster child for cities and administrative people that are using what we do. I know I'm ahead of myself, Will, but that's okay. That's what I do. Consumer problems. That I've been talking about that. And the problem that we see, can you move that over a little bit, Will? There you go, right there. Oh, come back. There you go. Okay. Anyway, what I was saying, we believe banks offer an outdated financial model. And we all participate in this. We know this. There are people that are running hard in the market. Everybody sees Samuel Jackson and Capital One. You know, what's in your wallet? What we're doing essentially is we're trying to hire Samuel Jackson. He won't even talk to me. Anyway, we wanted him to get up and do an advertisement for us, but we are offering a debit card that offers 10% cash back. That gives you the capability of doing, again, anything that you need to do that you do in banking today. And we believe that last paragraph that consumers, come back. Yeah, consumers are really battling. These things are reality. When I talked to the city of Albany, the last thing that the finance director said to me was, that is really intriguing. We always need money, Mike. And that's never going to change. And that's true of any citizen group, any state, any city. We know that to be the case. We think we have a specialized solution. And there you go. Okay. And it's based on blockchain. It's based on technology. It's based on the capability of our technical people to give us a debit card that consists of an app, a wallet, and we have an e-commerce mall that we're really excited about right now. And all three of those jointly produce quite an income stream that we're going to show you in a minute. Will, do you want to make a comment on anything technical here?
Well, just so everyone has the understanding that, you know, like Kevin alluded to in his presentation, you have to be very careful. You have to be very intelligent about how you proceed with emerging technologies like blockchain technology. But because we're in the trenches and we're living and breathing it every day, we feel that that gives us the advantage in that area because we're paying attention to the landscape, we're paying attention to what's coming down the pike, and we're being flexible and, if need be, making adjustments to produce the best possible product offering out there.
We really believe what we're saying here about products and services. Alicia, I see, just joined us. Welcome. Alicia is running our NFT team, if you will. We're in the process of completing an NFT transaction, and we're expecting our projection there is we're doing a seed round of about $2 million, and she's leading the charge. And that goes to what I was saying to you, Kevin, about how we're really learning about this stuff really works. Okay, thank you, Will. The wallet that Will and our technical folks developed features seamless capability to do all these things. We have folks that are doing crypto. We have folks that are exchanging money. We have folks that are designating money that's coming in. And our three principal products you see right there, it's an encrypted debit card and a smartphone app and the e-commerce shopping functionality. We are working on a name right now. We're about 30 days away from plugging in our e-commerce store And we're excited about that because we're about 4 months away of actually having our card ready to go in the world and being a viable product. What we're doing here is trying to raise the money for that purpose so that we can complete our infrastructure. And what we're doing with the NFT gets us a little bit closer to that. Next page, Will. These are some of the financial model highlights, and I heard you, Kevin, talk about Dan, and Dan has been a huge help to us, and he calls it pressure testing financials. I think first time I met Izzy, I told him we were going to do 13 billion by year 2, and he laughed at me. It was a joke. At any rate, I look at $1,500,000-800,000 in 5 years, and I'm absolutely amazed. And if it were not for the fact that we're dealing with a debit card, of which there's $660 million debit cards today in the hands of we, the public, according to the Federal Reserve Board, and they don't miss frequently on statistics. The average consumer is spending $36, 63 times a month with the debit card. We have a huge market out there to tackle. We know that people want our card. We have people knocking on our door for our card. To me, it seems very simple, and I'm badgering Will and other technical people in our organization to do it faster. And I'm not patient. I can throw a good baseball and a split-fingered fastball, but patience isn't what I have. And I would like to get this card out there right away. Boy, it takes a lot. We've engaged some of the finest professionals in the world to help us behind the scenes connect the dots and make it happen. When we finally get there, as we are developing this is what our financial model looks like. Thank you, Dan. And we believe that our EBITDA is going to be a high valuation for this company, should we be talking to anybody down the road that might have an interest in it. Next page. These are some more of the bar graphs, P&Ls. We are raising money to finish our infrastructure, design and testing, production, pre-marketing, and our launch. So we are hoping to get this done by December and be out on the street with our card, alive and well. And I've been focusing on our card, and that is consumer. And I want to also focus on the fact that what we do in our technology allows us to deal with the merchants who are going to be involved in our e-commerce store. And we have the capability, because of how we do our technical transaction, by owning a Swiss trust company, we can issue our own card, thereby earning and saving a great deal of fees. And it allows us to be a bank-like institution without calling ourselves a bank. And that's one of the basic ways that we get there. Next page. For those of you that are EBITDA, that's that. Catalyst, that's okay, we can skip that. Let's go to this, yeah. Catalyst is seeking up to $5 million in equity funding through a SAFE, through an SPV, and very similar to what you were talking about, Kevin. Our Gust.com landing page, which is new to us, but it's been very helpful in explaining what we do, is a great place to go. We have a capital formation roadmap coming up in front of you, and we're currently in the process, like I said, with the NFT. This is where we are today and where we think we're going to be in the not too distant future. And our big product is our card, but with our e-commerce store, we can turn that on right away without the card. We intend to do that within the next 30 days. It'll be a revenue producer. And we also will be working with merchants and offering to, I didn't finish that statement, we can save several basis points. I like to say we can save up to 50% of what people are paying, what merchants are paying for their processing fees. I have a business associate and friend who owns 6 gyms in Boise, Idaho. He's spending $300,000 a year on processing fees. And we're negotiating that, and we think we can save him a substantial amount. The quid pro quo there is when we do that, we think that it will give us a door to come in and offer our card to his 30,000 club members right behind that. So we are a believer. We have a market. We have folks that have indicated they want to use the card. We need to get to the next point. Go ahead, Mark. There you go. We eliminated pitchers because, as he said, they had an age cap. And with the exception of Sean Rowland, he's not part of the Over the Hill gang. Sean is
I never said that.
Sean is a new ad and brings tremendous capability to us that we really needed. And I love what I do, and I love being part of the company, but I've realized along the way, I had a little bit of a military career, that I wasn't the general, and I'm a good field grade officer, and I can take the hill and I can lead a battalion of guys up the hill. But you really need people around you that can do the other things that you need. Sean's one of them. Doug Melly is another one of them. Will Torbett is another one of them. Mark, we call him the crazy Dr. Brown of Back to the Future with 12 arms. He creates things that are hard to understand, and we try to take them and weld them together. Terry and I have been partners in the financial services business for over 40 years. And Terry likes to remind me that we did the single largest financial planning transaction in the history of Wall Street in 1986 with E.F. Hutton. But I'm not going to mention that today, Terry, so leave me alone. Okay, next. So this is us. This is how you can reach us. We've been doing business with Izzy now for a couple months. And I come out of this background, and I am really impressed with what he does. And all of us that are, reaching for capital and trying to get there, you know what that's like. And I've been doing that a long time. What he offers us is wonderful. I enjoy this. I have a deep belief in success with this, not just because we have a great team and a great product, and I probably don't do it justice, but macro, there's nothing out there like what we have. We're well aware of that. We call it the wallet of wallets. We call it one-stop shopping. We know that we need to be first on the playing field. And right now, we also know that there are other institutions that are chasing right next to us that want to get out there. And I imagine they're even looking at us and wondering if we're going to fail at that. We don't think so. We think we'll get to the goal line. We believe that we will raise the necessary capital, and I have no doubt in my mind that that will happen because we have a great team. Izzy's platform is going to be part and parcel of helping us with that, and I learned from each one of you, Tom and Kevin, Duncan, as you guys present, it's very helpful. So it's like iron sharpening iron, and I'm going to close with this comment. Izzy's been unusually quiet. He's probably eating a muffin or something. He's normally badgering me with questions. But he was saying that, people are saying this about the markets. Terry Atson and I, since early 70s, have been involved in the markets. And obviously, Terry's very old. I'm younger. We have seen a lot of these things. We saw 1980s. We saw in the 70s. We saw this. We saw that. We were retail brokers and dealing with family and friends and money and high net worth individuals. I was a tax shelter specialist, had a couple of years of law school. I got drafted. It was in the service. My life changed. We came back, blah, blah, blah. But I've learned a bunch. I know this. There is a great deal of money and liquidity in the space out there for all of us. And finding the right solution in the presentation is difficult, and it keeps changing. People are jittery, but we are a good alternative. Today, if I were a retail broker, I would be talking to my folks about alternative investments. I would be looking at each one of these things that you guys and we are talking about, and those would be potential solutions. So we're not pretty, but Bob and I go long and hard. And thank you, Izzy, for having us. Will, thanks a lot for showing and telling. Leisha, thanks for showing up. Nice to meet you. Did everybody see Leisha? Okay, there she is up there. Alicia's in Texas. Okay, Izzy, I'll
Great
shut up.
great job, Mike. And Bob, thanks for your support back there. I appreciate that. He's just, as you can see, jaw dropping. He's excited with your presentation. So.
Here, Bob's talking to you now. We'll set him up. He actually feeds me the information. It's an electronic thing. Yeah. And I'm going to talk to Kevin about some of that magic he does. We need that. I think, Will.
AI is the way to go.
Thanks, Alicia.
Excellent. Nice to meet you, Alicia. Listen,
You as
I
well.
talked come from one of the members of our cohort here, Eric Terrell. You guys should probably talk offline. And Dan, can you spotlight Eric? If Eric, you're willing to turn your camera on and go ahead and ask your question. Eric's got a deep background in banking. He's going to be presenting his company with Chris Dameron here. But Eric, you had a great question. Eric, you still there? He might have stepped away to refill his cup of coffee. Oh, here he comes online now. Go ahead and unmute Eric. Dan, can you spotlight him? So
Yeah,
this is my good friend and colleague, Eric Terrell. He's got a background, and in fact, I think I have one of the accounts from one of the old banks. He used to oversee First National Bank of Omaha. I've got accounts there. But anyway, go ahead and ask your question, Eric, because what's funny is one of the first questions that I asked Mike when he and I first met.
Yeah, I'm very interested. I've been in payments world for 35, 40 years, pre-internet, and created a lot of systems, and was on a lot of committees at Visa and MasterCard. I was just interested who your bank is.
Right now, we number one, Doug Melly is our go-to technical advisor on the processing instruments. It's commercial, it's Metropolitan Commercial in New York.
Metropolitan, okay, I know those guys.
Yep. Yeah.
You're in their branded debit card program then.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
And what's exciting about this, and I'd love for you guys to talk offline, as Eric mentioned, him and his partner Chris have a deep background in merchant services. But what I think is going to become popularized and sensationalized is the Iwana Club, as well as using that debit card for these transactions that can leverage all of your other cards. And if you caught what he was saying there, Eric, you can take your crypto wallet, you can take your American Express, you can take all of your credit cards, debit cards, and have it powered by that one Inside Edge Club, that when you use that, you still have the buying power and can see that return of 10% instantaneously. What these guys have figured out is remarkable. As you know, Eric, there's a big spread, and that's what lined your pockets as well as other bankers in the industry. There's a big spread when someone does a transaction. I mean, I get wire transfers and I'll see that it'll be pending for a couple of days, which is remarkable to me. And you and I both know once the Fed does that wire transfer, it's in the bank account, right? But they have that overnight lending and they make good money on that. These guys have figured out a process that is remarkable where you can leverage that and see 10% back in your account immediately. We like to say that you have effective buying power before the Domino's pizza hits your door if you use the Inside Edge card. Will, you want to add anything to that, the remarkable power that's with that card and how you guys are branding that?
Well, yeah, sure.
Yeah, there you go.
No, I'm good now. So I'll fill in a little bit of color. So with the encrypted technology, it eliminates a lot of the pass-throughs where information is exposed within the interchange process. And that's really the power of it. So if you think of it from that perspective, you really have an identity protection tool in your wallet in the form of a debit card. And then once we marry that with the power and the capabilities, yeah, and if we marry that with power and the capabilities of the wallet, I mean, you're going to be able to complete almost any financial transaction you could ever think of inside of that system. So it's just really remarkable to me as well.
Is your wallet using QR codes?
In terms of what? Like
transactional processes?
We have not explored that yet because we have some blockchain technology integrations and we are looking at near field communication integrations as well.
Are you going to do EMV transactions at the merchants?
We will do whatever transactions the merchants are capable of based on their current point of sale system that they use. But if they're using, a very common point of sale, then I would say that most anything is possible.
Right.
Look forward to talking to you further, Eric, and picking your brain and sharing what we have, if you would like. Doors
great.
open.
Great.
Yeah.
One of the things that I want you guys to drill down on, and this will be for everybody on this call, because one of the things that continues to come up when I'm talking to prospective investors related to SPVs is, what are they going to do with this money, right? And they're very I'll even go so far as to say abrasive about this. I don't want people figuring out stuff with my money. Is this thing ready to roll? I mean, they're just so rigid with this money on the sideline that they want to see a return as fast as they can, right? So why don't you go into the use of proceeds? 5 million drops into the account. What are you guys going to do with that immediately? What's the first step?
That's aimed at me, is right?
You or Will, it's fine.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Or even Terry, if he cares to jump in.
We need to finish our infrastructure. One of the critical pieces is the Swiss Trust Corporation. And we have that set aside. It's on the shelf. We're going to spend $300,000 getting that in place and activated. And that does everything we need to do as far as giving us the capability of issuing our own cards. And it does a lot of other things that aren't pertinent right now, but down the road, it certainly will be. There's a company called TAS, and Will, you can jump in if you want to or think you need to, but TAS has been engaged by us to connect all the things behind the wall. When you go through the door and you open it up and you see all the wires coming from all over the world. That's what I see in my little mind about how this thing works. And that's a $750,000 transaction that it's going to cost us to do that. So that's the heavy lifting there. We're going to market. We have $300,000 earmarked for that. You know, so we're pushing right up against 2 million, and another 150,000 that we think we'll need for operating capital to get there until we get our next seed round accomplished. And again, you may not have seen on the roadmap, and I glossed over that quickly, but that roadmap, we're not once and done. We think we'll continue. We probably will do a Reg A. We may do some crowdfunding. We believe that this isn't just once and done. I know that, and Izzy knows that, and he's counseled us to that effect. I mean, you raise what you can raise and keep moving. And if somebody comes along right now and puts 5 million out there, and we're prepared, we have our PPM, everything is done, our governance are in place, but I don't expect that's going to happen. If it does, more power to us. So we're talking to individual accredited investors. We're talking to some of the mini whales that Izzy brings, and an occasional whale. And you just keep perfecting. And what we did today is a case in point. We're trying to make this better and get it nailed down. But to answer your question is that's where it's going to go. We got $1.4 million, actually $1.1 million going to TAS and to the Swiss Trust Corporation.
What I think is exciting is this, right? Social media. I'm just sharing just what I posted here about what we're doing this morning on social media, right? Why is this important to me? Everyone's looking at social media, right? So as you can see here, I just have a quick post of you guys speaking right now. You guys invest in social media as part of the money that's coming in. Well, can you elaborate a little bit on that? Because what I want to see are people showing their phone with the Inside Edge card, the actual physical card, doing transactions, being shocked at the pump where, I filled up my SUV the other day, and apparently my credit card company is now, because I guess gas prices, this never happened to me before, maybe gas prices, it stopped at $120, right?
Yep.
So it's remarkable to me. But anyway, I want to see people posting that, hey, I just got 10% back. I just made $12, right? I filled my tank, and now I can walk into Starbucks and get a cup of coffee, maybe with inflation. I don't know, 2 cups of coffee. That place should be called $6. But can you talk a little bit about the social media campaigns that you're going to be doing, Will? Because I think that's going to be so powerful.
Yeah, absolutely is. So social media is a very powerful component to this. We're going to be investing a lot of our marketing dollars in not only paid growth, but organic growth. We're connected to some communities right now that use social media as their number one place of communication. I cannot speak enough about it. So we're going to be investing a lot of our marketing dollars in campaigns that are specifically targeted towards social media. Right now, we're finding great traction and great response on Twitter. There's a new beta version of Twitter where you can have conversations similar to Zoom, just without the video component, called Spaces. We are having, myself and other team members are having daily conversation in Spaces, not only building relationships, meaningful relationships, and connecting with other like-minded individuals, but we're also getting a great response and traction on what we're building here. So yeah, Izzy, to your point, social media, if you don't have a current marketing strategy that includes social media, you absolutely should consider one, because that's where the real traction against the growth of the company is going to come from.
Add on here on Twitter's, which, Terry Atson and I and Mark are yellow pad guys. I'd rather sit down with you face to face. That's not the world today. So what I've learned, and Leisha is our driving force.
Don't say that too loud, because Dan is going to hear you. He tells me that all the time. It's almost embarrassing. I have yellow legal pads all over the place, right? That's my hard drive on my yellow legal pad.
Yeah, me too. That's what it is. But Leisha is driving our NFT, and it's incredible. And she's asked me to appear on what they call Spaces that Will just remarked about. And you get on Spaces and you're talking to, you don't know who. I mean, you're talking to people can be all over the world. And it's question and answer. I've seen Leisha be on these Spaces for 3 or 4 hours at a time. And I'm good for maybe an hour and then I fold. But it's been remarkable. And people are interested and they're answering questions, asking questions. So and Will's got that nailed down with Leisha. So we're covering that base. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's really exciting. You guys did a great job with your presentation. Okay, Catalyst Capital Holdings. Again, I think you guys are going to be a household name. I think you're going to see people walking around with those cards and telling their friends, family, business associate, how in the world do you not have one of these with the power that you have in your wallet with that? So great job. Super excited. Give them a round of applause. Great job.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks for having us, Iz.
Yeah, absolutely. Up next, we've got my good friend and colleague, Tom Allen. Tom, Opango, look at the world that we're in today, right? Here we are sitting, learning from one another, featuring these great companies. But, you peel down the layers of the onion with that. And let's just take real estate, for example. You have the world of real estate that needs to be educated. There's all these continuing ed credits. You first found the niche in the aviation industry because of it's funny how hobbies just will spring into a business, right? You have a hobby as a pilot yourself and said, hey, we can make money here. Entrepreneurs are like opportunistic fish feeders. We're like great white sharks, right? Right. We can feed on seals, a whale, and here comes a tuna, and we'll eat that too. You saw an opportunity come across the radar, and you said, I can leverage this. And it is remarkable how the timing of all this is so impeccable. COVID hit and your business soared, right? And it's going to continue to soar because who wants to gather with hundreds of people? A lot of people don't want to do that, not for the continuing ed at least. So in any event, I don't want to steal the thunder from your presentation, but without further ado, Tom Allen of Opango. Take it away, Tom.
Okay, you there?
We're here.
We're here, buddy.
Well, I appreciate that warm introduction there, Izzy. I don't think I've talked to you, but I went up to Oshkosh here last week, which is the largest air show in the United States. 600,000 people showed up there. It's just unbelievable the reception you get when you're an aviation enthusiast and you're talking to aviation companies about how interested they are in talking to you. But anyway, so I appreciate you saying that. For me, I've been around for a while. I've been in small, medium, and large companies. and primarily in the C-suite managing engineering, product management, and business unit. I delivered telco quality products to the global markets in every time zone on both sides of the equator. I've joined 2 companies where the founder needed somebody to help them come in and scale the company. So I've joined 2 companies where I came in, scaled the company, and took it to the exit out the other side. But I'm also an aviation enthusiast. And so when I think about that, Opango was born out of a lifelong love of aviation. And what I am is I'm a technology guy. And I was just sitting around thinking, how can I make a market and a product and deliver it to the aviation community? And so we went to Oshkosh and found out that when you get right down to it, there's a big problem where they want to improve the safety record of pilots and aircraft pilots and with helicopter pilots. And you probably all know about some of the things you've seen in the newspapers. But what we did is we decided that we could provide the industry with an e-learning platform to help educate and certify pilots. And the problem we solve is that we realize also that other aviation associations and small businesses often need to train and certify thousands of geographically dispersed members and partners without the resources to manage them. Now, you can go Google LMS for aviation, and what you'll find out is there's several of us, but what we do that's a little different is we actually manage the LMS for these people. And we do everything from soup to nuts. We administer, we do instructional design, content development, and we're really kind of the outsourced learning department. And so our tagline is Opango makes e-learning simple. If you look at like our largest customers, the Helicopter Association, if you talk to them, they'll say, you know what, we're really good at helicopter operations. We don't know delivery content over the web. You look at the National Association of Flight Instructors, it's an all volunteer staff, and they're full of full-time corporate pilots. And then pilot safety is a solopreneur, highly sought after speaker trainer. So when I met Greg Brown from Helicopter in Las Vegas, he was very frustrated that he had an emergency and the current provider only guaranteed a 7-day turnaround via email. I gave him my card and said, call me anytime. He did 3 times and then invited me to Alexandria, Virginia for a day trip to meet the executives. We took the LMS business away from one of the largest LMS providers in the world, primarily because we were reachable and we were responsive to what they needed. Our most recent project with the Helicopter Association is 56 Seconds to Live. They really need to improve the safety record of helicopter pilots. And it turns out that on average, once that pilot makes that last bad decision, your lifespan is about 56 seconds. And I'm sure everyone's heard about Kobe Bryant. And what I know is that the Los Angeles helicopter squad was not flying that day because the weather was so bad. So the question is, what else did you need to know? And while I was at Oshkosh, I got a complete briefing on that entire flight from the FAA. And I'm a pilot myself, and it's just jaw-dropping what happened there because it didn't have to happen. Once they knew that the LA helicopter squad was not flying, they could have just said, let's stay on the ground. So what do? We claim we're the Chick-fil-A of the LMS platforms. We administer the LMS for you because our customers really just don't have the people or the time and effort to do it. We create training strategies with people. Most of the people I run into, they have some idea they want to do something, but they're just not really sure how to go about it. We do content development. Marketing strategies. That's the other thing, is that these companies often don't really have a real idea about how to go to market. So you guys were talking about digital marketing earlier. They just need some help with, okay, you have this, how do you go out and reach out to the market with it? And some people are great at it and some people need more help than others. We're very service oriented. I mentioned that earlier. And so we really do claim that we're the outsourced e-learning department. When I'm talking to an association or a small business, and they say they want to have some sort of online presence and an online strategy, but they do not have an internal online training department, I know I'm talking to my customer. If I'm talking to a larger organization where they got a whole army of people who do this, they're probably not there for them. Now, Izzy mentioned this, but COVID has forced the global education system to really embrace web-based online training. And nowadays, where employees used to, not really be crazy about it, nowadays they're actually demanding it. And for a lot of reasons, they're working from home, or they don't want to go to the airport and fly somewhere and be there for a couple of weeks to get a bunch of training. They are demanding that they can do this at home or wherever they are with their mobile device. So in 2019, the LMS billings worldwide was 9.64 billion. In 2021, there was 15.8, up 64%, and they're estimated to be 37.9 billion by 2026. So our go-to-market strategy is we're going to really up our game on digital marketing and outreach. We're going to continue to go to trade shows and industry events and sponsorships in our target markets. We're going to add LMS administrators as needed, depending on how many clients we bring on. And we're really going to accelerate our product roadmap. Our executive team, I've already talked about myself, but James Roselle, he's our VP of Education Services. He and I have worked together. This is our third company. I know him really well, super sharp guy, gets a lot done. Tom Dennis is our marketing and brand management. He's put together our website and our messaging and spent a lot of time with us just trying to hone in, what it is we're saying. Chris Kambala owns a product development firm, and he does all of our product development and architectural strategy. And Charlie Quinn is our guy that runs all of our human resources. Trusted advisors. What could you say about Izzy? Izzy has been fabulous in helping us hone in what we're saying and how we're saying it. Dan, it just has a tremendous command of our financials and helped us put all those together. David Zumwalt and I have worked together a couple of times. He's a serial entrepreneur. He is also with a thing called does consulting services around entrepreneurs. So I've known him several years. And actually we went through an exit with him. He's one of the companies I mentioned earlier. David Sim-Smith, he's a venture capitalist with Mobility Ventures. They're primarily focused on the wireless and mobile marketplaces. Pat Hamner is with Patriot Capital. And what's interesting about Pat is that he was on the board of a company I was with. And one day he walks in there with this box and he says, "Look what I got. Look what we're investing in." They opened it and it was these things called Heelys, which are inline skates. And I'll be honest with you, I looked at that and I go, really? I didn't really see why that was such a big deal. But as you know, they were all over all the television shows in CSI Miami, one thing or another. And they absolutely printed money with those things. Dan Vermeyer is a corporate finance. What they do is help with M&A. And at some point, we want to exit this. So we're going to, Dan is helping us make sure that we're sort of on the right track as we're on that journey. Bob Bolanger, he's steeped in business models around SaaS type businesses. So he's helping us in working with Dan, putting together our financials. So what this basically says is that with the investment we're talking about, we'll be breaking even somewhere around late year 2, and we'll be at like 21 million out here in year 5. And we can talk about this a lot more if we need to later. What we're really offering is an SPV. And what I have found from lately is that SPVs are all the rage. And even some people say it's the only way that they'll invest in your company through an SPV. And so even though we're expecting to raise a total of 4 million, what we really are trying to do right now is just come up with $1 million to bridge us to the future. And we're thinking that we'll do a 20% discount on that. And what we'll do with that is we're going to spend that money on digital marketing, on sales, LMS administration, and account managers. And we're also going to go after our roadmap and put in a lot of data analytics and updates to the UI, UX. And probably everyone here knows that when you have a web-based SaaS platform, you're always having to update the UI. And so we're doing that. Now, in terms of progress, it turns out I've got a development firm that I've just got onboarded, and what they're so excited about what we're doing that what they're going to do is do deferred billing, and then turn that into at some point into a investment into the SPV. So we still got to work out some of that, but in the meanwhile, we're off and running on development. I've also got an agreement with a digital marketing firm is ostensibly going to do the same thing. They're not going to defer all the billing, but they're going to defer enough of it that we got development and marketing on the move. And so that's really all I've got. Thank you very much for your time. And I'm looking forward to hearing from anybody so we can carry on our conversation.
Hey, go back to that last slide there, Tom. Great job, because I want to drill down on this a little bit further on the use of funds. A lot of people really don't understand oftentimes what digital marketing is. It's more than just email campaigns. Excuse me. It's more than just sending out electronic flyers, if you will. First and foremost, that's one of the biggest things. And as you're in the SPV realm, this is what sophisticated investors want to know right away: is what do they use my money for, right? So on the digital marketing side, can you expound a little bit more?
Yeah. So
who that target audience is going to be on the niche side, because it's beyond aviation, right?
Oh,
So,
yeah. Well, here's what you got to start with.
Make sure investors know that's not necessarily what you're aiming at only.
Well, I think I failed to mention this. Turns out that all of these LMS companies, ours included, kind of have niche markets. And so we're in aviation, cybersecurity, and healthcare, even though we have a variety of other customers that are not in those groups. But I have talked to a lot of digital marketing firms. And the thing that's really important about these guys, and I was really impressed with, what they do is they really manage your sales funnel. So they gen up all the leads up front, and they do that via my own database of people that I have found myself. And they also do some data mining to look up other ones. But the important thing for me is, rather than me calling people, they will do all the cold calling. And then what they'll do is deliver to me names of people who are already ready and qualified to listen to what our story is, so that they are already expecting to hear from me and like that. Now, turns out, people don't always buy on the first day. So let's say we get through a really productive conversation, then I'll play back to them what's happening, and they'll do follow-up and emails and things like that. Now, that to me is sort of the big thing that these guys are going to do that I'm really excited about, because they're really going to take what I'll call the sales and marketing funnel management and just run with that. But also, you've got to do things like on LinkedIn and Facebook, you've got to post things that are relevant to your market so people will know you're out there. And we just recently started doing more of that. I'm just shocked that I'd say we're not doing much, but the response has just been huge. So when I say digital marketing, what I'm thinking about is these guys are going to manage the front end of the sales funnel in terms of lead generation and qualifying people. I, or my salesperson who I want to bring in here, will actually close the deal. And if it does close, then the LMS administrators will take it. But if it needs to cook for a while, they'll manage all the email drip campaigns and everything that'll be targeted to who they are. And if there are a lot of email campaigns that go out there where this blasts the same email to everybody. This is not that. This is what they'll do is they'll say, who is this person? What is it that they need to hear from us? And we'll have the personas sit down so that everybody doesn't just get the same thing. And that is a really critical part of this. So I just to say digital marketing, probably you're right. It doesn't really let everybody know just how much effort and energy we put into that. But and the thing to know is I'm off and running with it. So does that help, Dan?
Yeah,
I mean,
that definitely does. So drilling down a little bit further on the other points of use of proceeds. So the scalability side of things is huge with LMS. Talk to me so an investor can understand the onboarding. How simple is that? Is there a choke point where you can only take on so much business at once? What does it take to onboard a company that would look at this and say, we got to do LMS because we're all over the country, offices are all over the place, and this is just so much more simple?
So that is a great question, because the people that I typically run into, all they have is a gleam in their eye. And so it's not just about providing an LMS to them. You got to work with them on what is their content and getting it all up and everything else. So some of them, if they, depending on what they have, you can have them up in 2 or 3 weeks. Some of them maybe take 2 or 3 months. And then you take like the helicopter guys, every 2 or 3 months, they got something new they want done. So there's the onboarding of the LMS itself is pretty trivial. And I don't know if there's any real limit to the number of LMSs, but now the number of customers that you can actually spend a lot of time with, what I've done is I just went to the Learning Solutions in Florida, and I've got about 3 content development firms lined up so I don't believe I'll have any choke points on getting content done. The only choke point is going to be, is this customer able to convey to us what it is they want? All right. Does that make sense?
Yes.
But if they're clear on what they want, and just depending on how much they want, they're going to be up and running in a matter of a couple of 3 weeks. It could be, if they really want a lot, it could be 2 or 3 months. But that's the content development part. And the other thing they've got to do.
That's what I love about your offer. When you take those 2 parts, there is your onboarding and what you said right in the beginning. You're the Chick-fil-A of the LMS.
Oh, right.
Well, why did he say that, folks? Well, if you're an investor, here's what I want you to know. Listen to how personable that Southern charm that Tom has when he's bringing on clients, right? I'm saying this tongue in cheek and we're laughing and giggling about it, but it's a very serious thing. I've experienced it before try to get some of these marketing platforms or anything that you would utilize in the electronic world to get somebody on the phone. You're dealing with a chat bot at best. And with
right.
Tom, it's personalized service. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I love about Chick-fil-A, because I'll tell you right now, although Chick-fil-A is in the fast food industry, it doesn't have fast food prices. But I'm a family of 6 and I go to Chick-fil-A, it's like $80, right? Okay. Well, why? Because I've got 2 football players and they want 3
Right.
sandwiches and chicken nuggets and a large sweet tea and this, that, and the other thing. Anyway, the point that I'm trying to make is that I get personal attention from people
Yeah.
at Chick-fil-A. I don't get that from McDonald's or Burger King or anything else. And I want to know that if I'm educating my entire company, right, I want to get somebody on the phone. And that's so powerful with what you're doing. Tom, can you expound on that last point and then we'll move on?
Well, here's what I have found. When my customers know they can contact me anytime and they feel comfortable they can do that, they don't really have a need to contact me very often unless they got a project in place. And so we don't really, even today, we're in the market and we have been, we don't even have any open trouble tickets with our platform. It's just solid as a rock. So if I get a contact like I did yesterday from one of our customers, they actually are an HR customer, so they're not in our primary market. But the deal is they had questions around how to deliver some content that they were putting together. And think about it, if they can't get anybody on the phone to answer the question. I mean,
Yeah.
and so they
Yeah.
sent me an email, real simple email. How do I do this? And I wrote back, this is what you need to do, and this is how you need to deliver it. You know, I probably, 30 seconds into that. But the point is, they had a question and they got a response immediately. And if that wasn't enough for them, they could have called me on the phone. Well, I say call our company on the phone.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Well, Tom, I
if-
mean,
if-
that's a niche that you'll certainly have in this industry. People fall in
It's,
love with great
and you're
service.
right. Everybody else in this industry is like, good luck.
Yeah.
You know, it's send me an email. Maybe I'll respond to you. You know what? It's not a competing firm, but the story is the same. I had a problem and I could not get through to customer service at all. So I went to their chat line, and after 20 minutes of chatting with somebody, their answer and solution was, oh, call customer service. Here's their number. And I just thought to myself, that is not us. We are
Yeah.
not, we are not going to be unreachable. If you have a problem, we're here to help you, not here to ruin your whole day. So anyway,
Good job. Excellent job, Tom. Give
well,
Tom a round of applause.
thank you, Izzy.
Great
Appreciate
job.
it.
You always do a great presentation. You got a great company. Okay, up next, we've got Duncan Burns of Veggie Dome. How are you, Dunk?
Hey, Izzy, doing pretty well.
We're going to
Doing
spotlight
great.
you. There we go.
Great, good to see you.
Oh,
Really
I can hear
good
you.
cohort here.
Hold on here for a second. Okay. You're looking great, Dunk. I'm excited for you to present. I mean, you and I have talked over and over about how valuable your proposition is. You've seen it in my household, or seen the results with my kids now eating fruits and vegetables. And by the way, I think I told you this a while back, that impacted the trajectory of how my oldest eats. He's a monster. I mean, he's bench pressing a massive amount of weight, and he's into health and fitness. And it was very convicting when he said to me, hey, Dad, you mind if I do some of the shopping? Because there aren't always, these healthy things in there, right? Because, I was raised on sugary cereals and Oreo cookies and Pop-Tarts and stuff like that for breakfast. But you impacted our home, and I'm very, very appreciative for that. And I think the world needs to know about the Veggie Dome and what it can do. It's the Tesla of the kitchen, right? Is what we always talk about. And that's super exciting. Folks, my good friend and colleague, Duncan Burns with the Veggie Dome. Go ahead, Dunk.
Thank you, Izzy. Great. That I appreciate hearing that. It sounds like a win over there.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And so I'm going to go ahead here. All right. So Veggie Dome with patented BioValve technology. I have been working with this thing for 15 years, although I started the company about, let's say 5 years ago. I wanted my kids to come home, have vegetables out on the table, and have it fresh so that after school, they could come in and just grab in like a cookie jar for veggies, celery sticks and carrot sticks when they came home. But it turned out that I solved even more than just a snack problem. And that is, our problem is, in the United States, we're throwing away actually the figure there should be $110 per household in the US every month of vegetables we buy. We put them in the fridge, put them in plastic bags, and put them in the fridge. They're hidden, or the bag opens up and we spoil all the lettuce or whatever is in the bag. We're also not eating enough vegetables. And that's one thing I think Izzy was talking about in his household, where he's got the vegetables out on the table, that he was able to have a win because they're just grabbing the stuff that's on the table, and it's better for you. It's in your mind. It's on your daily consumption of food. The solution is to be able to use the biology of the plants themselves to create an atmosphere inside this dome, or this Veggie Dome, which has these different parts. I'm glad that I have it illustrated here. There's a lid, and there's this dome that has an opening on the top and the bottom. And that's a piece of glass that was a proprietary shape that I was able to patent. I have design patents on it, but I was able to make a utility patent as of last year, so that any shape any material, any color. We're covered with a device that allows the ethylene gas to escape out the lid. The ethylene gas is produced by the vegetables and it spoils the vegetables because it's a growth hormone. That just seeps out throughout the day. But at the same time, that same lid is keeping the moisture in near the vegetables so that they are drinking the water through the air. This is the thing. How did I understand this idea? Is that many years ago, this is me at 9 years old, 1970s, where I was able to grow orchids in a greenhouse that my dad and brother and I built that allowed me to understand that plants actually drink water from the air as much as anything, especially these tropical plants. So this is something that I've developed, which is that there's like a little bit of a greenhouse inside the on top of your table, but the lid allows the ethylene gas to escape. So what are we going to do with this? The only way to excite you guys, investors, to be able to say, we're going to make money on this is on a consumer product, you got to sell a lot of them. Guess what? We have the ability to replicate these. So because it's such a simple device that it is something that we can make in many different shapes and sizes. And we've got the CAD drawings in place at a supplier right now in China. So we can sell this as you can see, there's a spread of things. B2B would be with retail and with hotels and cruise ships that we've been in touch with. We've also, with the utility patent, been able to open up our licensing arm of the company. And we've been selling B2C online already. That's pretty much understood. You have a simple product, you want to sell 1 million of them, you use all of these different avenues. Well, now, wait a minute, selling 1 million of them? We're obviously starting with steps. This next phase will be making 15,000 of them, then go to 30, then go to 80,000. But this is the thing. The market is already welcome. We've already tested it. We did an Indiegogo campaign 5 years ago. That's what helped launch the company. In 45 days, it's sold in 47 states. This was just an Indiegogo campaign. So it shows that everybody is interested in an easier way to eat healthy. They don't want to be throwing the vegetables away. They like to be able to have some of the vegetables out on the table and be able to sell them, to eat them up. And online, we've been selling them for $69. And that's because we've been making only a couple thousand at a time at an expensive rate. We have news, which is that instead of making them for $15 each, we've been able to make a deal with a supplier for making them $8.50 each. Now, I'm an excited guy, but that really got me going because after 4 years of making just a small number of them and a little bit heavy, then I will be able to sell them now for a lower price and target a mass audience. Now, there's a trend going on, and I know a lot of you guys here are big meat eaters. I know Dan loves his slab of steak, and I respect that. But I do know that over the next several years, and even the next 3 or 4 years, that people are going to be eating a lot less meat. Why? Well, it's getting to be really expensive. It's getting expensive to in terms of the industry, the labor, for meat, and also there are people who are running towards saying it's healthier. Paul McCartney, who has kicked off a huge wave of individuals, including the Food Revolution Network, and all these people are eating different things. There are sports figures who are major sports people who are vegan or going towards plant. Tom Brady, he's 90% plant-based. Why? Because it's helped to increase the years of his career just eating better. So I'm not going to say that this is only for vegans, but let me tell you, there is a huge wave of people who are going to really appreciate this thing out on their table. And how are you going to sell 1 million Vegedomes eventually and more? We're expanding our line also into other products. Is that the fact that we're going to ride this wave, we're going to be a tool for that wave to be able to sell Vegedomes in a growing industry. Now, this is the thing. There are already set industries, multi-billion dollar industries, which are great for using the Veggiedome as an actual tool. Let's say a nutritionist, they say, oh, I want to be able to have my client eat more vegetables. Tell them, buy a Veggiedome, put it on your counter, have 7 celery sticks, 3 carrots, and radishes in there. And by Tuesday, I want you to empty it and keep going, eat more vegetables. Why? It's walk into the kitchen, they see it sitting there. So you can see that there are other like pro athletes and trainers, healthcare industry people, housewares. It opens up an entire arm of the housewares industry to have out of the refrigerator produce containers. Why? It benefits the people of the household, but also it's really nice to look at. You see the pictures behind me here, that they're quite beautiful when they have the vegetables in them. So we've got a great management team, and Phil Nardell, who's my CFO, helped to set up the books of the company. As you can see, he's worked with several corporations, done incredible work over the last 20, 30 years. Pat Yori, he works with specifically category creators. This is one of the reasons I brought her on. She has helped work with major companies, and she's really behind us. I'm in touch with Pat all the time now. And CEO Trevor Anderson, who some of you guys know, he is unbelievably proactive, really great to work with. The advisors that I've got on board, and this is something that grows every time I talk to somebody who's interested in helping other people have better diets, have better lifestyles. They go, oh, put the vegetables out on the counter, I'm in. But we've got John Sally, who's a 4-time NBA champion. He wants to help me shoot the videos. He wants me to get going. He's got connections in Hollywood that is really impressive. He's an actor at this point too, after winning 4 NBA championships. Royston King, who is a Forbes 30 under 30 figure. He is new towards the advisor board, and he is very excited. He's going to be bringing the product towards lots of other investors through his resource pool. He is an award-winning 8-figure serial investor. He is excited. And guess what? The last conversation I had with him, prepped on this, he turned to me and said, Duncan, I believe in you. And the reason why is because I've been working on this for years, not just the 4 years of having had a successful Indiegogo event. We are getting strategic partnerships on board. We are getting people who are going to make this thing $1 million sale is just going to be a given. We have got to produce them. I mean, just quickly mention Dr. David Katz up here. He's got a following of 1 million on LinkedIn, and he has 2 Veggiedomes. He wants to use it in his methodology. So we are raising $1 million, and we're going to be pretty much spending most of it on the inventory. So that's what that's to get the inventory out there. We do have to have these new molds, which aren't going to cost that much money, but we have to execute a go-to-market campaign that is really going to be utilizing a lot of the resources that we have, but also the folks that are going to be really just knocking it out of the park because they want to help other people be able to really share something that's going to change households. So this can be a part of a trend that's already existing, but it's going to be a boost towards those industries and those people. Let me go to the financial summary, which Dan has helped me with, and is obviously something that we're going to be making a lot on with our retail connections. We've already got doors opening up for Bed Bath & Beyond, but we're not completely focusing on helping some of these stores keep their own doors open. We're going to be able to use some of the more current ways in which reaching out to people. There's going to be a real situation where we're going to be working with, as I said, the strategic partnerships, where we're going to have a win-win situation. People, companies, and individuals will be able to buy it through the other means than just retail. Our funding, as I said, is going to be $1 million. Our revenue share option is available, and we're also going to have equity agreements through a safe hybrid convertible note. So I'm going to stop sharing now. There is Izzy, and I wanted you to bring up any questions you might have. I'm excited about this. We've been able to bring the price down from $15 down to $8.50. We've brought Royston on board, who's a 30 under 30 Forbes guy. We've got, I mean, everybody I talk to that I want to have involved, they're excited to help other people. But we're going to make a bunch of sales. Go ahead, Izzy. Your mic's up, Izzy.
You're in a tremendous season right now of explosive growth. There's a lot of things that are happening right now, and I think investors are getting excited about that. When you're having conversations out there, one of the biggest things that is coming up with every single startup, every investment opportunity, you've heard me ask this question from every single one of the presenters, is what are you going to do first with the money? What I'm noticing out there, and I don't want this to sound like I'm beating on a dead horse, is investors want to ensure that when they put money into your opportunity, that you're not cutting your teeth with their money, if you will, just trying to figure things out, right? For sure, Duncan, what you've done with the Veggie Dome is now you've got a fire and they can throw gas on top of it, okay? So why don't you explain, first things first, $1 million comes into your company, you've got the price down, you've got a utility patent that you can leverage, you've got all these incredible things happening. What's the first thing you do with $1 million?
We've got the ability to pull the trigger on being able to move forward. And one of the reasons why I was able to make the price go down with the supplier is I worked with them. Instead of sending them CAD drawings saying, okay, you have to make this, and they have to bend over to try to make it work, I was flexible and talked to their engineers and asked them how it would be best to make it. So what I'm actually saying is we've been doing test markets for the last 4 years of glass versions. We have now ready to do potentially BPA-free plastic, but the initial first run on this next phase is going to be the glass ones of improved shape. And again, as I said, we're ready to pull the trigger. We do have to make the molds for us. That takes about a 3 to 4 month period for that. We're going to be checking them so that once we make these molds, you can make 1 million off of these molds and it's ready to go. But using the test marketing that we've done, having the tools that we have for marketing already getting developed and already getting ready for it in advance. So I've used these 4 to 5 years as preparation for this phase, but also these strategic alliances that we've been made, they're all ready. So a lot of them are like tapping me on the shoulder, like, come on, let's get this inventory out there. So they're ready to go. I hopefully answered your question.
This is a great point, leads me to my next question that I've been asking everybody, is scalability. One of the things that I've been on investor calls with you before, and it comes up often, is, well, this doesn't appear to be scalable. Here's what is remarkable about your offer and your opportunity is, number one, let's talk about the utility patent. Folks, there's a huge difference between a design patent and a utility patent, okay? That utility patent means that, Dunk, you can license that to other glassware manufacturers. So as we start building this audience of folks that are going to have Veggie Domes in their home, what's going to begin to happen is you're going to have other high-level glass manufacturers that say, hey, I can see a use case for our audience that buys our products. We need to license this from the Veggie Dome. And that's really, really powerful. Can you go into what it took with the utility patent and what you have right now?
Well, the smart thing what my patent attorney was doing is he said, okay, let's get these design patents in place. We got 3 design patents, and they're different shapes that are somewhat similar, so that if anybody tries to make a copy of it, they're going to be infringing upon that design patent. But the entire time, over this 4.5 year period, he was working on making sure that the utility patent, which any vegetable container that allows ethylene gas to escape through the lid and it keeps the moisture down below, we've got. Doesn't matter what material or shape or color, so that we can license it. Now let's talk about it. Let's say if it goes to Williams-Sonoma or some company like that, they're going to be selling 250 $50 versions. They're going to be making Italian glass. We're asking people to put them in their kitchens for the next 5 years. It better match the kind of style of the kitchen that they're in. So we don't need to be making all these different types of ones. We're going to have other companies jumping on board and being able to make the more expensive versions, where we're going to be focusing on a style that is going to be for an every person mass market. And so that's how it's working with.
Or even a commercial grade one, right? I can totally see this on a cruise ship. I can see this in hotels on a mass scale, right?
Yeah,
for sure. And that utility patent can be leveraged for sure.
Right. And we also have other products that are in line with in our company. I won't describe it too much, not just, let's say, smaller ones for nuts and dried fruit for health. Can you imagine a series of these in a household, maybe 2 or 3 of them? Every single thing that's in there is healthy. You hear it, it's going, the lid's going up and down. You know that the kids are eating healthy snacks. But there are also other tools and other things that we're developing for a grab and go healthy food lifestyle, which is what's more and not more since COVID. People have been doing having a different view of food. Sometimes it gets delivered in the household. Sometimes you got to grab and go. That's what we're going towards. And this flagship product is ready to pull the trigger right now.
That's really exciting. And I know I've been on calls with you on an international level with folks that want to bring this around the world and be in partnership with you in that. Let's talk a little bit about, as we wrap up here, what that could look like in the future, because the biggest objection there was we got to get the price point down. And somehow, with you pounding the pavement, as they say, on a daily basis, you're able to bring that cost down from where were we at before?
It was $14, $15 each, down to $8.50.
Now we're down to $8.50. That is huge. That is huge. Can you talk a little bit about that? This doesn't mean that the quality went down or anything like that.
No.
In fact, I think it might even be better.
We have actually better quality. We've got a better quality supplier now. It's just that I worked with them. I kind of flipped and said, I'm going to see what they prefer when they're doing that. And you know what? The design was actually very, very similar. A couple adjustments that make it smoother on the handle, which I think it looks actually nice. It looks good, but they're making better quality glass for only, like, let's say $8.50 for that. And you're talking about international, I'm in touch with the people in UK almost every other week. And I just got off the phone with a guy in Australia who wants to be able to bring a whole line to there. And he would be, I've got to be able to, I must admit, if, working with investors and people who have international contacts, I do need to make it some form of agreement that once it starts going into somebody in Spain, somebody in UK, and somebody in Germany and Australia, how to work that out. That's something that I'm a little bit out of my league on in terms of working with international business, but you get them set up and you have containers go directly to that country, then we can have it so that we're saving cost and also that we've got presence in the international market for sure. There's a demand already that I can't fulfill right now. Got to get it out there.
So proud of you, Duncan. Excellent job. Give him a round of applause. Great presentation. Glad to have this on my countertop. Excellent job. Okay.
Thank you, Izzy. You're great. This is a very impressive cohort. I really appreciate it. It's an honor.
All the best to you, brother. All right. Up next, we've got Eric and Chris. Dan, if you could spotlight them. So in order to spotlight you guys, you got to have your video on. How we doing, Chris?
We're doing good. How about you?
Doing great, doing great. What's the weather like in Arizona?
For us, it's a little
always
humid.
Beautiful, always sunny, right?
Yeah, it's only about 97, but the humidity for us is up a little bit. So, not like Florida humidity, but it's
only about 97. That's funny. If only I could say that on a February Colorado day. Well, I'm so excited for you guys to share. I think what you have is a remarkable platform that you can hold in the palm of your hand with My Life. And guys, I've been watching this company percolate here for a little while. And for some reason, Eric, there he is. He's back again. And I've been watching this percolate for a little while, but I think everybody is going to need to use your platform on some shape, form, or fashion. Recently, my wife and I were traveling, and of course, what you want to do is find out what's around you.
Right.
And for whatever crazy reason, and maybe you guys have the answer to this, even when I'm just on my iPhone, right, and I say restaurants near me, and I'm not even in Fort Collins anymore, restaurants in Fort Collins come up. I have no idea why that happens. It's the craziest thing. You guys probably know because you're well versed in this area, but everyone needs to use something like what you have with My Life, and I'm going to allow you guys to jump in that. Guys, everybody, my good friends and colleague, Chris Dameron and Eric Terrell, you guys go ahead and take it away.
All right, I'll go ahead and start. So basically, while I share my screen here, basically this started from my own personal need, really, is, and just like you said, Izzy, is, you know, I got a group of friends. We're always trying to find something to do, and it's very difficult to find something on the existing platforms. And we started building this thing, getting going, and you know, Eric and I, we got the platform, the base MVP platform done, and all of a sudden we realized what we really had at the end of the day is a marketing platform for businesses and event promoters. You know, it just doesn't exist out there. So we're using, like you said, Izzy, we're using a mobile application. We've got our website that where businesses go to, but then for consumers, we've got the mobile app. So for the types of businesses that we're really kind of targeting for our first phase is, you know, bars and restaurants. So basically on this platform, what they can do is they can promote their events like local musicians, karaoke nights. They've got a lasagna special or happy hours going on. And then other areas that they can promote on the site, which don't exist in any other platform, is, you know, that they have a dog friendly patio, or they have a private room where you could go to. There's nothing out there exists today just yet for COVID questions and things of that nature. So we've added that in. And then, you know, they have 25 TVs and they have specific sports channels. You know, for Eric's sake, I put in here Huskers bar. You know, wherever he travels, he's always trying to find a Huskers bar. And, you know, those things just don't exist in today's current platforms. And then you have any type of event promoters, musicians, food trucks, anybody that's trying to promote their event. Those are on our system. They have specific areas that they can, you know, highlight and promote on our site that doesn't exist on other sites today. And then local partners, you've got news medias. They try and get into, you know, things to do lists and things of that nature. You know, chambers, local municipalities always trying to promote their events, travel sites, commerce authorities, those kind of things. Where it really kind of comes down to is for these groups, the value proposition is they have a direct link on our platform to have private conversations with the consumers. So it's not just like a Yelp going out there and posting in a review and then the business can't do anything about it. On our site, it's a private conversation. And then analytics, so they can see who's searching them, what the consumers are looking for, respond to those things, change their profiles so that it matches those things. Today, you'd have to go to, you know, their website, make those changes. 9 times out of 10, they're not managing their own website, so they have to go to somebody else. So it's a very lengthy process. Competition. There's really no known competition that we have. Facebook, yes, it's the most robust listing of things to do, but they don't make it easy. And to promote on that platform, it's very expensive for a business to promote their business or their things to do. And then, as I said, consumers have to really hunt, search, you know, and it becomes a very frustrating process to find that stuff. Eventbrite is great for ticketing, ticketed events, things of that nature, but non-ticketed events, they just don't do a good job at. And then there's no value for businesses. Both Facebook, Eventbrite, Google, businesses can post their stuff on there, but that's it, right? It's just a big shotgun approach after that. They don't know who they're hitting. They don't really get much feedback. They just don't get much information at all. And if you search on Google things to do, what you get is travel sites, those kind of things, which is the top 15 attractions or things of that nature, which you could just buy tickets to, right? Local news media, they don't do a good job in this area either. They all have, or I shouldn't say all of them, but several of them have things to do on their site, but it's down the road. It's not something that they have a focus on. They're focused on, media and, raising those dollars. So there's no real expert in the things to do space until my life. And then obviously, once you have this platform, what we realized, which is kind of funny that we really started in the space of consumers, but really what we built was a platform for businesses and event promoters. So at the end of it, what you get is an inherent proposition for consumers. So there's no competitors. There's nobody out there really using technology in this space today, which is what we're looking to apply, which obviously machine learning, so that consumers begin to see events and things that are relative to their lifestyle, not just a big shotgun and a search that pulls up, irrelevant events and things to do. The app is very sticky because, like I just said, the consumers will start to see over time. They'll see, things that are relevant to their lifestyle, which will then drive them back to the app and keep it very sticky. The other piece that we're doing is geolocation. Like you said, Easy, when you're traveling, things of that nature, you don't know what's around you. The number one thing within our app is everything is listed by location. So the things that you see within the app are closest to you and go out from there. So the unique feature of the app and the content that we get back is we're going to know things about our users that no other platform has. Unlike Facebook, though, we're not going to sell that content. What we're going to do is have people play in our sandbox and be able to, use that content, that information to help promote within the app. Why invest? Great returns, got profitability within 2 years, 17 months, EBITDA within 7 million. Very simple concept. The nice thing, as we have gone through this thing, it's not really going to it's not human resource heavy. Once we get rolling, there's going to be some initial human capital up front, but then once we get rolling, really technology will take that over. So then, the return on the investment is really high. Market disruptor, because like I said, there's no one in this space really focusing on this or using technology. So we're going to disrupt the market and change the way other companies market to their users. And it's highly scalable. We are currently testing, and we've got our MVP that we just released in Arizona. Once we hone our skills there, then we'll be able to go out to other cities and duplicate this over and over and over again. So we can take it national and even eventually possibly international. Current situation, we've been at this about 3-4 years. We've had a couple different prototypes that we built all around how we get the content, how we manipulate the content, what kind of content we get, those kind of things. So we've really become the experts over those 3 or 4 years. We're a Wyoming corporation, and we've got all our ducks and legal documentation all put in place. We started building our MVP platform right in the height of COVID, April of 2020, and thought, well, we'll be in good shape once it goes away, and then events start opening up. What we didn't take into account is developers actually getting affected by COVID, which slowed things down a bit. But yeah, we're ready to go now. We've got our MVP both for the business side and the consumer side ready to go and rolling out actively. So we also spent a lot of time documenting our phase 2, which we're looking to develop next up. Next steps, MVP rollout. We are looking to sign businesses of all types and event promoters. What we're doing is a 3-month free campaign and then $15 a month after that. It's very, very easy, very inexpensive for businesses and event promoters to get in and get on. And then as we move along, we have about 3 or 4, probably about 4 or 5 different revenue streams once we get rolling. And then currently we're developing the screen scraping for events so that so when consumers download the app currently that they get, a full feature rich content of events as well as bars, restaurants. And then, we're preloading the merchant businesses. So next, our needs are really build the full app, which is the next phase that we've got really well documented, and get a different development team partner. Right now, we just using some developers as contract work, but what we're looking for is more of a partner that we're moving together with. And then some experts. We really need an IT director level type person that can help lead us, in that effort for development. Marketing, obviously, we need that kind of resource. And then we need a few data manipulators and normalizers. So what we're looking for is a 2 million round. Eric, you want to step in here and kind of take this part?
Yeah, I think our initial requirement is for the software. We're currently contracted with a company called Kiwi Tech that will take half cash and half equity to complete the programming. They do have an investor group that if you're with them as an IT partner, they'll invest in your company. So hopefully they will be our IT person that we need on that prior page. And we're interviewing marketing companies to basically be the marketing director or lead us in the first steps of the marketing rollout. So it's scalable, highly scalable. And so that's what we need to get going. And once we get that done and we crack Arizona, then we'll use the same standard processes to go out to the next 54 cities. And most of that work to add all the merchants to the system is all done electronically. We're not knocking on doors. We're not sending people out knocking on merchants. We're going to add them all electronically and then go back to them and tell the merchant, you have people searching your entity. You need to enhance it based on the parameters within the software. So a merchant, I'll give you an example. We meet at a bar called Connolly's, which is kind of our board meetings. And they have off-track betting. They have cornhole. They have an outside patio. They've got misters. They've got 20 different, they got a DJ, they got music, they have trivia night. Well, none of that's on their website, and all of that is in our system. And the key is, let's say I like trivia. I can, in the user app, set 4 preferences in there. So I've got trivia night, guys' night out watching football, guys' time out with my children, and it will sort through all of the data in the system and return to you the events and places and things to do that match your preference profiles. So you're not hunting through trying to find something to take your kids through you'll get things that are kids friendly. So there's a lot. And then of course, as you hunt through this with the system, we'll collect all that data, send it back to the merchants, and then, be able to tell the merchants, you got guys that are looking at you, and these are the things they're looking for. And that will bring them into the system.
Yeah. So, and it's, so this effort that, to bring this to fruition has really been, me and Eric just, humping along, learning as we go. So we're looking to expand our team, get some advisors, as well as some of those, key areas like the IT and, marketing people. So that's kind of where we're at.
But trust me, everybody we presented this to, you're going to have a my life moment. You're going to say, I'm searching for things to do. I can't find this. I'm getting garbage. You're going to say, I wish I had that app, because you're going to have a my life moment and you're going to think about it at that point.
Oh, there's no question. And, when my wife and I first moved out to Colorado from New York, as you guys know, I come from a background of lots of Jewish and Italian friends, obviously Puerto Rican friends, people that like to eat a lot. All right. Here in Colorado, they eat like birds. Okay. Except for maybe me and Dan. But anyway, so at my kids' first time having a birthday party, made some friends at school and stuff like that. So the parents like pinging my wife, like, oh, is the cake gonna have red dye number 5 or this? And my kid's gluten free, and I'm like, you know what? Don't come. That's really what I wanted to say. Now, I'm saying that tongue in cheek, but here's why it's so powerful in my life. Because what if you want to say, hey, I'm a vegan, like Duncan, right, or vegetarian? What kind of vegetarian options do these restaurants have? Or, hey, I'm going to be traveling with my family. And I remember this one time, my wife and I were dating. We were in a rural area. We saw a sign where we're driving. Like, oh, okay, cool. Let's just stop here and grab something to eat. And it looked like a saloon. And the lady opens the door and she's like, oh, hey, you guys are a cute couple. And I'm like, I just saw the sign as like special, whatever. And she's like, oh, here, let me give you the information on our establishment. I didn't even know what swingers meant at the time. I do now, obviously. But I was like, yeah, honey, I don't think we want to eat here. Okay. So I say all this because you'd be surprised when you're traveling and you just have no clue and you stumble across something, right? What if you have my life in your hand? And you can say, this is what I'm looking for. This is what I'm looking to avoid. There are a lot of people in this day and age and culture, they want to make sure that LGBTQ or whatever is acceptable in their, restaurant environment or bar or whatever it is. And then some people are ostracized by that. And they have these polarizing moments like, yeah, I don't want to hang around that, right? I just want to go to a family establishment. I cannot tell you how valuable that is, because while Facebook can post these different things that are available, they're not going to go into the granular details of all that.
Correct.
So that's what I love about My Life. Can you guys expound on that a little bit? Because what immediately, and folks, right now we're spinning up an SPV for the investors that are listening now or listening to a recording in the future. What I want them to understand is the ease of onboarding a client. In other words, if I'm an establishment that can take all those different types of parameters, like, hey, we have vegan options, we have gluten-free options, we do this on this night, we do, like, just like you were saying, cornhole and everything else. Why don't you guys expand on what does it take to bring on a restaurant chain or one individual restaurant? Because I think investors want to understand that, because you touched on scalability on how much this can be scalable. Can you touch on that a little bit, Chris or Eric?
Yeah, I can touch on that. Yeah, it's very easy for a business to sign up. They basically have about 5 screens that they go through that are maybe to get signed up, it takes anywhere from, 2 minutes to, 15. It just depends on how detailed they want to get. But each one of those screens that they go through first is, they basically outline and give specifics about the business itself. And those can be, that they've got the outdoor patio, that they've got the meeting room, that they've, handle COVID by, they have, a schedule of how they wipe down the tables and things of that nature.
There's
So
300 or 400 options.
Yeah, they ask those questions and answer those questions pretty, quickly. And then after they do that, then there's a whole nother set of questions that if they have an event, that they answered those types of questions. What type of music that they're, looking to play at this, all of those kind of things. Is there a DJ? Is there, a musician? All of those kind of questions, and then what types of alcohols that they serve. Is it craft beers or is there wine? Those kind of things. And there just doesn't exist a platform, like you said, Facebook. Yes, they can put out there that they've got karaoke night, but that's as far as it takes, right? That's as far as it goes.
Now that's on a web portal, because you're not going to do that on your phone. So we got a web portal for the businesses,
Right.
and most of those are all drop downs, so they're easily selectable. And that's why we have the data scrubbers too. If a guy keys in something, he can also key in things that are not in the selections, because there's going to be something like that. And we'll pick those up instantly and add them to the database so everybody can select on them.
Right. And then once you get to the mobile app, all we display are the things that they selected. Right. So it sounds like a lot. I'm going, I'm going to have to scroll through these hundreds of items on a mobile app. No, what we do is just display the icons or, those kind of things that are related to those items that they picked. So
the website's mylifemobile.net if you want to take a look at some of it. But
for the end user, I think it's important to note that, for example, when here in the center of the country, as you can imagine, it's not very easy to get fresh seafood. Okay, so I'm a little leery at times about certain sushi places and things like that. So when my wife and I travel to areas and it's near the coast, one of her favorite dishes is being able to have prime rib, and she loves snow crab legs, right? And boy, if I can find a place that's got, great that, and we go back to a hotel, it's going to be Valentine's Day, if you know what I mean. So I'm always looking for, the right places that please my wife and things like that. Talk a little bit about that, how I can choose those selections for me, and it's going to populate what's around me. Can you guys share a little bit about that?
Yeah. So in the back end, basically the technology behind it uses your preferences. And that's preferences you set, as well as then, places or events that you're going to frequent. Once you frequent those, we're going to use some AI behind that to populate your app. So it's basically custom for your likes.
It's designed with the user's control, even though we're selling it to businesses. So a user can control what merchants can advertise to them. So if you say, I go to this place, I'd love to see their ads, you can click on and off. If you, as a user, if you want to review any place you've been, any event you've been in, we open up a tunnel to the merchant for that review that's not published. So they get feedback, and then the user can say, hey, he can send me back, he can talk to me. Right? I'm going to send a review. If he wants to respond to it, I'll accept that. So we've really tried to put a lot of controls for the user in there so that you don't have tons of ads, a bunch of merchants emailing you, all that kind of stuff. You're just going to get the people that you want. And the merchants love the feedback that's not published. Just absolutely love it. I mean, I had a guy that said, no, I wouldn't pay for that. No way. And I says, well, here's how it works for reviews. And he said, I'll buy that in a minute because I hate Yelp and somebody slams me and I'm out of it. But if I know the guy's been here, the user has 4 slots you can pick. This is my favorite. I'm following this guy. This is my hot list of places I want to go. And here's one I've organized by emailing and texting, mostly texting my friends saying, how would you like to go here? Let's vote on it. And you vote on it, and then you pick a place to go. So that's embedded in the app.
Really cool.
Yeah, it's embedded in the app. So it's got a lot of stuff. It's all our competitors just throw a bunch of data at you. It's, here's my list. It's 500 things. And if you go to Eventbrite, you're only going to get events that use their ticketing system. So this is stores your data, sorts your data, takes you out of the hunt world.
Yeah, and consumers, our attention span is getting less and less, right? So, we're really more demanding of, content that we can relate to.
Yeah,
So-
COVID kind of kicked our butt because nobody's going anywhere, right? But we were able to add a COVID feature to it where the guy answered COVID questions, so you can tell, or we could add any other monkeypox questions. We're going to actually add the ratings for the health ratings, so you can look at those things. So we can just keep adding to that. And another feature is that we have exits. We have exits to Lyft, to all these other third companies, to Ticketer guys, and all of that will be revenue into the system.
This is going to be such a huge hit. And what you just said there, I mean, I think that should be showcased and featured. Vote on what you want to do, on Friday or Saturday night. This happens all the time with my wife and our group of friends.
Yeah.
We'll go out to lunch typically with a group of us after church on Sunday, and everyone's sort of standing there going, what do you want to do? I don't know. What do you want to do? My wife's always like, stop. You're always being so bossy and choosing a place. I'm like, well, you know what it is people can't make a decision. And we're standing there for 30 minutes. Like, what do we want to do? Can you imagine if you did this ahead of time, like on Saturday night? Hey, let's vote on this. What do you guys think? No, let's go. That would be awesome.
Let's say you wanted to go try a Mexican food truck. I'll tell you where they're at. Let's say you want to go eat and then listen to some free country music. I'll tell you where the free musicians are. They're going to all be able to put all their places where they're playing into the system. So it's been a lot of fun working. It kind of comes out because we're payment guys. We've talked to merchants for so long, on their payment processing, that we should, this is where my pain is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's been fun.
This is going to be a huge success. I have no doubt. Huge hit. And I'm so excited and honored to be a part of this project. Again, give them a round of applause. Chris Dameron, Eric Terrell from My Life. Great job. Great presentation. All right, Dan, if you could just spotlight myself, I'll give you some of my final thoughts here. And guys, as you can hear, what's resonating certainly are SPVs. SPVs have really grown over the last decade to become more and more in vogue. Years ago, I used to see what the frustrations with SPVs is. Number one, they were incredibly cost prohibitive. Number two, they'd be very frustrating to a founder if you guys have ever heard of these minimum maximum offerings where maybe the minimum is $500,000 before you can break escrow. And you know how frustrating that is if there's $350,000 sitting there for a couple of weeks and the founder's like, man, I could really use that money to pay some things and move things forward, and you can't touch it or break escrow. With SPVs, that's totally different. You can have multiple closings. So if you have any questions on that, you can certainly reach out to me. But needless to say, I think that the other thing that's so effective about this is how it lands on your cap table, right? And just to avoid any confusion with an SPV, I always like to put a first name in front of SPV, Joe SPV, right? Why do I say that? Because everyone just thinks this is this weird thing out there. No, it's just an entity that's on your cap table. But inside of that entity, there can be multiple parties, right? And what's great about that is the folks that are in that entity that are multiple parties, usually they're the upper echelon of people that invest. So in our SPVs that we build, we only do accredited investors. We do the KYC, AML checks, everything, know your customer, anti-money laundering rules, that type of thing, because we want to make sure that we're dealing with accredited investors. I mean, it's pretty obvious with some of the relationships that we have, that they are, but needless to say, we verify that to make sure that's the case. Why is that important? Well, number one, If you're a wealthy client, maybe it's a family office representation, private equity, whatever it is, and they look at a company like My Life and say, I love this company. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to earmark $1 million for them over a period of time. Right now, I just want to start with $200,000-300,000 grand. What they want to make sure is that the people that they're associated with can also fund the company with a couple $300,000. Because what becomes very frustrating for founders is when you're dealing with your average run-of-the-mill accredited investor. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I'm just simply saying, given what's going on in the economy right now, to become an accredited investor, what do you need? $1 million outside of your personal residence. If you're a couple $300,000 in income, it's not that hard to achieve in this country, okay? Especially if you're investing in the stock market for some period of time. Needless to say, you get those people that may be coming off the heels of paying their quarterlies for their taxes. They've got margin calls out the wazoo. It keeps happening with the stock market going up and down. And then all of a sudden, My Life calls them up and says, hey, we could really use 50 grand. And they say, this sounds like a great idea, but I'm out of dry powder. I don't know what to tell you. I just paid my taxes, made my margin calls. I gave you guys 25, 50 grand 6 months ago. I'm all out. You're gonna have to do what you can. That doesn't happen with family offices and private equity. To protect their position, they'll say, okay, this looks really great. We'll continue to invest. And so will 5 or 10 other entities. That's what's so powerful about that model. So if you don't know anything about that, what I'll do is I'll drop in the chat here what that looks like, where you can take a look at. I've got a webinar that really educates folks on that. How many of you have seen my webinar by a show of hands on that? And what I'd like to do is open up any questions here related to an SPV. I know some of you are already involved with our SPV now and what we're doing there, but if you have any questions, let's just open that up for a couple, 3 minutes, and I'm going to drop this into the chat, because what I think is so powerful about what is happening right now is the changes in the market, right? You got to be able to adapt to what's going on there, and that's something that we've been able to do. Any questions on an SPV that I can help with right now, or if you have any comments or concerns, anything like that? If anyone's talking, you're on mute. I'm just going to put this here in the chat. There. So I just put that in the chat. If you've got any questions, you can ping me directly. But I think the model works really, really well, and it attracts the higher net worth individuals. And that's what you need for ideas like yours. Now, does everybody fit in SPV? No. No. Why? Because if you're not something like, for example, what I keep harping on is, are you scalable? Are these monies throwing gas on the fire, or are you in the ideation stage? I can tell you right now, if you're in the ideation stage, an SPV is typically not going to be a fit, because what these super sophisticated investors want to ensure is that they're throwing gas on the fire. You just need to scale with some money, and they want to help with that. So regardless, if you've got any questions or anything like that, I'd love to assist you. Those are my comments on that. Forward looking in the market, who knows what's going to happen. But the great thing that is about SPVs is that whether the market is great, whether the market is tumultuous, whatever it is, they work. And we're typically working with highly accredited investors, super angels, private equity, early stage VC funds, family offices. Those are the people that you want to be talking to if you've got a great idea. If you're a bright entrepreneur with great management and a great idea, that could likely be a fit, and I'd love to chat with you further about that. Okay, my final thoughts for today is you guys are remarkable. You guys handle the ups and downs of whatever happens out there, and I'm so privileged and honored to be a part of what you guys are all doing. And kudos to my associate, Dan. He's remarkable at what he's able to do. Dan and I were on a call recently where, he was able to wow some people with these numbers. Why? Because he builds out the models where it's just not a house of cards that falls apart. And, and a lot of times too, we identify some weaknesses within an organization and say, just the other day we were on a call with someone and their bookkeeper, and things were just not cleaned up. And we had to figure things out there where Dan was able to, hit some laser lights on that and say, this is glaring and obvious. This does not make sense, and it's not going to make sense to an investor. So give him a round of applause for cleaning up all your financial models and helping you look palatable to the sophisticated investor. And if you haven't worked with Dan on your financial modeling, you should, because he knows how to take the hits from investor calls, and he stands there for you and stands in the gap. So certainly a pleasure and honor to be working with Dan on that. But outside of that, everybody have an amazing weekend. I'm excited to continue working with you. If you have any questions, comments, and concerns, don't hesitate to ping me, get on my schedule, and I'm looking forward to seeing all you guys capitalize. If you want to just unmute and give Dan some love in the chat and say thank you, I'd appreciate it. But we're going to sign off for now, and we'll see you on the next one. Take
Love you,
care,
Dan.
everybody.
Love you, Dan.
Great job. Great
Thanks,
job,
everyone.
Dan. And you too, Izzy.
Yeah, Izzy, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Have a good weekend.
Have
All
a
right,
great
see ya.
weekend, everybody.